Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are live from Sydney, Australia for the WGL Season 1 2016 and 17 Asia Pacific Finals. That is a prestigious title for what will be a prestigious event. This event is the culmination of 8 weeks, 97 matches to reach our top 4 teams. It is right here our champions will be decided. They will take home pride, glory, and the lion's share of $100,000 in prize money. It is going to be one hell of an event. I'm very happy that you could join us. Here today, battling it out and bringing the fire will be the guys from Meltdown, B Gaming, B Gaming, Team Efficiency, and the probably the hot favourites coming into this one, EL Gaming. Will they take the title? We'll just have to wait and see to take us into the first series. Let's head over to Ben on the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Josh. Yes, 97 matches. That's one long season, and an awesome season it has been. I'm here on the analyst desk with the boys. It's Madhouse and Roby1 Kenobi. Gentlemen, how are you enjoying Sydney so far?
Well, pretty good. Yesterday we went out with all the boys from TE and the other teams. Well, I was hanging out mostly with the TE guys, so I know some of them. But yeah, I'm pretty good. Pretty excited for them. Really rooting for them, kind of.
Yeah, well, that's what I heard, Madhouse. You were saying a little bit earlier that on the forums, the guys from Team Efficiency are maybe the favourites, even if the stats on my page don't necessarily reflect that.
It's pretty much like that. A lot of people are rooting for TE. Obviously, they got the home crowd advantage, obviously, being here in Sydney. But yeah, a lot of people are going for them. And yeah, I'm having a great time in Sydney right now.
Well, of course, we've got our teams here. As Josh said, 97 matches. We started off with 12 teams. We came down to 8, and now only 4 remain. We take a look at our standings here. We can go through from the bottom. We see those 4 teams, unfortunately, were dropped out halfway through the season. We came down to 8 teams who continued to play our round-robin competition. And, well, I can see that Coalition Zoo sitting down there, gentlemen. That's the team you boys are from. But to be fair, coming through 8th is not actually that bad this season, considering it's been, quite a bit of competition.
Yes, well, for us, I mean, we're pretty. I would say we're pretty proud of ourselves. At the beginning of the season, we really didn't have lots of hope to what we were gonna do, but then we started winning some games, and well, we're pretty good, pretty proud of ourselves so far. I mean, we're more relaxed team compared to the other ones. We feel so.
Well, you made it here to LAN anyway, didn't you?
Yes.
All the way from 8th spot's a bit of a sneaky way to make it.
Sneaky way.
But it's great to have you on the desk today. Now, when we talk about this, of course, we had 8 teams duking it out, I suppose. We got down to the top 6. From there, we took our top 2 seeds. It was Meltdown and EL Gaming. They progressed all the way through to today's semi-finals. They didn't have to play in the playoffs. For the other 4 teams, they had to fight it out. They had to earn their way here. And that left us with B Gaming and Team Efficiency. Team Efficiency coming through as the 4th seed. And who we're going to see up against EL Gaming, seed number 1, to start it off today. Madhouse, how are you feeling about this one?
Look, I would like TE to win this, but to be brutally honest, I don't think they're going to take it. It's definitely going to be EL's game here.
Well, they certainly are the favourites. Robbie, you feeling the same way about that?
Well, it's the final, so TE might try some special tactics, or I mean, I'm hoping they take a couple maps, but yeah, at the end, it's kind of going to be EL's game, I feel.
We take a look at our schedule here. We can see starting off today, it will be EL Gaming against Team Efficiency, as we've just been talking about. That is our first semi-final. So we saw in our bracket a little bit earlier, the winner of this game is going to progress through to this evening's grand final, and they'll be going up against the winner of B Gaming versus Meltdown. I think B Gaming versus Meltdown's also going to be an interesting game. You've got B Gaming, who's really the only team who has shown EL to be a little bit shaky potentially. They've taken them to 2 tiebreakers so far. They've lost both of those, but still, that's a pretty big deal. Meltdown, on the other hand, they started off the season well. They had a slow end to the season, but still managed to secure the 2nd seed. How are you feeling about those 2 teams?
Those 2 teams are more, I feel like more even out, but they have very kind of different style. B Gaming is a team that seems to be really studying a lot about other teams, so you'll see them like they did that against EL, right? They really studied up what EL was doing and really countered them pretty good, and they almost beat them. Whereas Meltdown, they seem to be a team that's more creative. Like we saw them bringing mouses and whatnot, so it was pretty It was pretty good, and then also they come from Korea, so the meta is different over there. They probably have different ideas, so they seem to be the more creative team.
They adapted a lot better than all the other ones that already have been dropped. They're the only ones to make it through.
That's actually a really good point you brought up. Of course, this season it's a little bit different. Of course, we've got leagues all around the world for the 2016-27 season number 1. And the big thing about APAC is we've got the SEA region, we've got the Korean region, and we've got the Chinese region. They're all playing together. Do you feel that's made a bit of a difference here, Madhouse? How do you think that changes things up?
It changes it up a bit because, those Korean teams, completely different meta. They had to come over here. They had to get used to playing on a different server, obviously, so they had to get used to different metas overall.
Do you agree with that, Robbie?
Yeah, also I feel like, the fact that they came in really upped the number of teams.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot more games, and I think a lot more time for different teams to get used to each other. Like the other seasons, there was a lot less games.
Okay.
So this season, really a lot of games, which really made it so that all the teams could really practice a lot and really got to know each other.
I guess the other side of that is, of course, that with more games and more preparation, playing the same teams a couple of times, you get to prepare. You overall, the better teams should progress through to the end.
It's the teams who really study the most, I think, like how to counter. It's like a war of counters, basically. Like you're just trying to figure out, if they're going to take this tank, they're going here. If they're going to take that tank, they're going to go there. And it's really trying to counter. It's really the team who does like the most prep who are really going to move up.
Well, the guys, of course, from EL Gaming, I think they've been doing quite a lot of prep. These guys play a lot of World at Tanks, and we can take a look at them here. Man, I just want to say straight up, they look so stylish in those jackets. I think they handed a couple of them out yesterday as well, and the people who didn't get them were a little bit jealous. But
I'm a bit jealous, yes.
Yep, same. Those jackets are really good.
They look very, very cool in real life as well. And of course, their ladder position number 1, and there's a reason for that. They haven't dropped a game all season long. These guys are they're the favourites coming into this one, even if the forums are all for team efficiency. Really, EL Gaming, these guys take a World of Tanks very seriously. They play like a pro team, which is what you need to be doing, right? If you expect to be the winners here. And of course, $100,000 US dollar prize pool this season, $50,000 going to first place. The guys from Wargaming really upping the ante here. And you can't blame EL Gaming for taking it seriously, can you?
No, really you can't. I mean, I would say they are the only 100% pro team because they are sponsored, but Meltdown and B Gaming also practice a lot. Like we talked to them, they practice 8 hours a day. EL Gaming practices 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it's really like hardcore into it, and they're a pro team, to be said.
How are you feeling about EL Gaming right now? Do you think that they pretty much... Are you going to say straight up from the get-go that these guys have this competition locked down?
Almost. I think B Gaming have a chance. Same with Meltdown. T also have a slither of chance. They have to practice a lot. Really counter their strats and know how they play to get it down. But they can do it. But I think EL is going to take it overall.
They can do it, but they won't.
It's possible.
The thing is, right, we're here on land. We're in Sydney, Australia. Everyone's had to travel out. Everyone's had to fly distances. It's the nature of a great tournament like this. You're sitting down. You're playing at a computer that's not yours. The pressure is on. There's a live audience. Heaps of people watching at home. It's definitely different to sitting perhaps at home or in your gaming house or whatever it may be. So definitely a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, well, in that respect, I feel EL Gaming also has another advantage, right? Because they've been to more live events. Like, this is T's first live event?
I think it's their second.
Second live event. But, like, even the second live event, but then the players aren't used to it that much, I feel. And it's going to be a lot more pressure on them, so we'll see how it goes.
I guess we'll have to see. This should be the first of many live events we'll see here for Water Tanks coming up. This season has been amazing. I'm expecting next season to do the same, but of course, we still have 3 games remaining. And the number 1 seed, EL Gaming, they came in a little bit early. We had a chat to them, so we did a video. Let's go take a look at that.
大家好，我是 EL Gaming 的队长 Fox TS。因为我们是亚洲的，可以算是亚洲唯一的一支全职业线下战队。我们平常每天的训练量都是8到10个小时，那必须是经常见面，因为我们生活都是在一起的，就是我们有一个独立的一个俱乐部，然后大家平常的训练，包括生活、吃饭、睡觉都是在同一个屋檐下。其他队员像我们的 Nice，和 黑鹰，他们主要是我说英文名吧，他们的Nice 和 Black 主要是我们的队里的指挥官，我们所有的战术成型都是要经过他们的审核和批准，包括在场上的指挥都是由他们来执行。因为第一次来到澳大利亚悉尼，心情还是比较激动的。对于比赛来说，我们这次拿到冠军是志在必得，所以说对于这个比赛结果的话，我们觉得尽自己最大的努力去完成就好。这次我们应该会拿下这个亚太杯的冠军。之后呢，我的一个小小的目标就是在2年之内，我们一定会拿到这个 Grand Final 的世界冠军。
Well, they want to be world champions, but they need to start here in Sydney, Australia. They've had such a great season, an unbeaten record, going through to 2 tiebreakers. Madhouse, what type of tank do these guys kind of play? What type of strats do they play?
They're very mobile strats. They like to pick fast tanks, no slow tanks, and then just always take map control. They'll cut you to half map straight away, but then from that half map, know which side of the map you're from. From there, scout it out, find where your weakness is, break you back down to even more map, and then attack you from there when you cannot move at all. And so they'll be picking 113s, 50Bs, pretty much any fast tank. It'll use a lot of bat chats as well, 140s, TVPs, all the mix of fast tanks.
Does anyone else play this type of style of water tanks? And if not, why?
I think it's mostly EL adapting to the C server, because like a lot of times they don't have a clear strategy. Like their strategy is mostly spread out and then find out where the enemy is, and then they kind of surround and like make their strategy to counter that. But they really try to, they don't really try any specific thing, and it shows in their tank picks as well. Mostly like fast tanks that can really adapt, and like a lot of autoloaders so that go around, clip something out, come back. It's very it's an EL style of gameplay.
An EL style of gameplay.
Well, we would love to be able to play that way, but it's really hard for us because we're not like that gelled together. Like they seem to know, like move as a team, and like really know what the other players are doing all the time.
So I guess kind of what you're saying is that if you come in with a strat that's quite adaptive, you don't have necessarily time to communicate with everyone on your team.
Yes.
A lot of teams may come through with the strats like, right, move to here, stop there, essentially, then take this. All right, let's hope we win.
Yes.
Whilst these guys, they adapt on the move, and you need to know the person beside you. You need to know that style of play. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, well, also a lot of training. They have like step 1, get to this position, and then, okay, from here, we have like 5 different options, you know? And they know each of those, everybody in the team knows those options, and they know the trigger. So they probably don't even have to call it when they see where the enemy is going. Everybody just moves to the second position. So, I mean, that's what training does, really, like training together over and over again.
Who would have thought that preparing for a computer game you could get better at? Who were training at it 8 hours a day? That's exactly what you want. If you love tanks, man, that's what you want. These guys living the tanking dream, really, aren't they? They're getting big prize money in the line. They're flying out to Sydney. They're the favourites. They're playing tanks all day.
At this level, I wouldn't really be calling it playing. It's like
it's almost like a job.
It's a job for them, but like it's really hard work. It's not like they're just fooling around.
Yeah.
It's really like drills over and over again. It's like an athlete, really, like exercises going over again. Even if maybe you don't see like the end goal really sometimes clearly. Like it's just you need to keep doing it, and it's hard work.
Mad, how are the other teams going to adapt to this? If you've got an opponent that has such an adaptive play style, they play 8 hours a day, they have a team house, they're the favourites. How do you come out and how do you beat them?
I think you just try to stop them from taking that map control from the beginning. So know where they push to and just meet them there and have the fight there. And you just pretty much have to focus fire better than them, which is hard because they're Elon.
Yeah.
But you have to do it. If you're not doing that, either you're going to have to to have a position and push into where they're not, pretty much, and then wrap them around and shoot them in the back, or just flank them and be where you're not expecting to be. So if they're pushing, say, Banana on Nuremberg, you're over on the railway or something when they really expected you to be there, and that could throw a team off.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what Team Efficiency is going to have to do today. They are coming in as 4th seed. They had to play in a playoff a little bit earlier. They defeated, and now they came through today as our 4th seed in this competition, which is a pretty hard task. We take a look at these guys. Look, a little bit different to our previous team. No cool leather jackets, but they're here to play tanks nonetheless.
Oh, they have pretty cool t-shirts.
I must admit, I do like their logo, to be fair. I do like. Is that like a red panda or something?
It's a raccoon.
It's a raccoon.
A raccoon.
I love it nonetheless. Now, you can see their attack win and their defensive win percentages are a little bit lower than the guys from EL Gaming.
A little bit, I'd say, yeah. A little bit lower.
So
it's still positive.
It is still positive, and I suspect you probably wouldn't have made it through to our semi-finals if that wasn't the case. But these guys, some of them haven't had to travel as far. You know, some of them are from Australia. If there was a home crowd here in Sydney, it would be Team Efficiency. Would you agree?
Very much. A lot of them, I think all but 2 are from Australia in this current lineup that we're seeing today.
Well, that'll do it. A little bit easier. They're used to it. Some of them probably been to Sydney before. But again, we had a chat to these guys across the last couple of days, got some insights into that one. Let's go and take a look at this video.
Team Efficiency has been around from the start of APAC. However, there's only one player who is an original member. Myself, Safi, and Dexter are the only 3 that were in the team from last season. Everyone else in our team is new.
JP, one of our players, didn't have a passport. I think he was expecting it to get it quickly, and we've just, us being us, we tend to just give each other a bit of stick from time to time, and we've obviously just turned it into you just didn't have any faith in the team. To be fair though, I don't think everyone in the team expected us to be able to get to here. We're still a very new team, and you can see it in our gameplay and how we play as well. We can be very inconsistent, and that just comes down to lack of experience. I would be lying if I said it's not going to affect us.
I think we'll just do the best that we can do, considering we're missing like 2 of our mainstay players. At the same time, the players that we do have here, even though 2 of them are stand-ins, they do play with us regularly and have played throughout the seasons. We should do all right. I mean, we're up against EL, who are the big dog on the block, and so we'll do our best. For us to win against EL and then go on to play the actual finals would be pretty amazing.
Geelong, it's hands down. They have so much more experience than anyone else in Asia. At the end of the day, I would say they probably train 2 to 3 times as much as anyone else. It will be very tough. Simple as that.
At the end, we still need to play against Geelong no matter what. Either we're going to play against them during semis or finals. They never lost once in the regular season. Fight against Geelong is like almost impossible. Like if we win against them, that's just like a miracle.
I'd say we're more surprised we made it this far than proud, but it's a good surprise.
I think the goal originally was stay in the league, and then it turned into okay, let's finish top 6, and then once we were in the top 6, then it was okay, let's get to the offline finals, and now we're at the offline finals and see what we can do.
Well, they talk about how it's more of a surprise that they're here than anything else, but this season seems to be full of surprises for Team Efficiency. They wanted to stay in the league. They made it through to the top 8. Oh, let's make top 6. They made top 6. Oh, let's get through to the offline finals. Here they are. Now, this whole season has built up like this for them. Can they today go one better and make it through to our grand final? It's a big ask, isn't it? It is a big ask.
Very big ask.
Look, I'm looking at these stats here, right? And we're talking about things that they're doing positive. They haven't lost a tiebreaker all season. Same with EL. You know,
same with EL.
If this goes to a tiebreaker, I don't know. They've won one more. Maybe the money's here on Team Efficiency if it gets that far. Of course, they need to start off on the right foot. Is that what you would agree with? If they can get a good start, maybe pick up both sides of map number 1. Put you in the right stead, the right frame of mind, maybe the crowd a little bit getting on their side. Do you think there's a way that they can push this through?
Momentum is really good in video games. If you can start winning, you feel really good and you feel like you can do more and you keep winning. Momentum is great, but the thing is they have to get that good start and make EL feel like, oh, are these guys actually going to beat us at this point? But that's going to be hard for EL because they've probably experienced that before many times.
Yeah.
And they're just going to, we lost one. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, like, even against B Gaming, like, they lost the first couple of games against B Gaming, and they still came back afterwards and won, you know? So, I feel... I'm not going to say it's mission impossible, but it's going to be pretty close.
It's mission unlikely.
Mission very unlikely,
but
yes.
Definitely mission doable, right? If Tom Cruise can do it on the TV, then Team Efficiency can do it today. And look, what are we going to see here? Obviously, it's going to come down to maps, right? That's quite an important part of this whole competition. Obviously, each game you play one attacking side, one defending side of the same map. You've got a best of 13. You get to remove one map from the map pool. What do we expect to see these teams be removing that they don't want to play?
Well, TE, straight off, they're going to ban Muravanka. They've never played it. In this entire season, 0 games. Have not played it once.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to pick Mines. That's EL's worst map. But they're also probably going to pick Cliff or Steps, because that's also their most favourite maps. They play that almost every single series there is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think Murovanka, I mean, they've never played it before, so maybe they're going to just bring it up today, because, I mean, nobody knows what they're going to do on it. So we might see that. Or maybe they're just going to go with their usual one.
Are you suggesting that for the entire season, EL have been saving strats?
I mean,
just for today?
EL, T, maybe. I don't think they actually counted on themselves coming here today, as you said, right? They're like, oh, we barely made it here. Let's make it one step further. I just think that, they're probably looking at the maps that they have, and they're like, oh, we haven't done anything on Muravanka because we've been banning it. And they're like, oh, since we have never played it before, maybe it's a good map to bring out. I mean, this might be their last, game to like keep going. So they're like, okay, fine, let's try something new, try something different, and we'll pick it.
Well, that's true. They've had a couple of weeks, of course, to prepare. They knew that they were coming. Their travel for some of these players has been a little bit less than everyone else. So in terms of time frame, they're sitting okay. It's not it's not like they only found out yesterday that they were coming to the final. So if they wanted to strat something up on Muravanka, definitely had the time to do it. What else do they need to do up against EL Gaming? What are the key things that these guys for team efficiency need to do if they want to make it a close match?
They really just, like I said before, take away the map control. Don't let them take the map. If they take the map, they're going to reduce you to nothing and then just fight you where they want to fight you in the best possible positions. Well, you could be in a field, you're doing a climb or something, a boost, and you're in a fight. It's too late. You're over.
Are there any key players here for these teams? Who would you suggest are the guys to watch out for today?
The guys to watch out with? It's not really mostly the guys to watch out. It's mostly the position they play in,
Okay.
Like, somebody in a good position to do damage will do lots of damage, Like a scout in a different position will do lots of scouting. So it depends really who's gonna pick what for this game. I mean, usually Scale does most of the scouting because he chose to, right? But, we'll see. I think the main thing they need to do to really stop EL would be to, like, stonewall them. Like, we see B Gaming did it. They took 2 mouses on Mines, right?
Yeah.
And that was like, B Gaming was like, well, what do we do? Like, what do we do, right? So I feel like, and EL really likes autoloaders. So I feel like they're going to have to take a mix of really heavy tanks to eat up all those shells on most maps, right? Because EL is very good at focus firing. So, like, eat up all those shells and then, like, take some fast autoloaders to go, or maybe even fast single-shot firing tanks, like 140. Chase down those autoloaders. Because we know EL loves autoloaders.
That's a very good point. And there might be a few people watching today who really, they haven't been following the season through, or they may not play tanks very regularly. The autoloaders, they fire a lot of shots, right? But then they have quite a long reload downtime as well.
It depends. Like the 50B has a longer, but like the 57, for example, it's very tricky because the reload is actually pretty quick. Like it's like
22 seconds.
22 seconds. So, like, even if you're firing...
22 seconds a long time, though.
Well, it's a long time, but, like, for example, if you're at the top of a hill, it's going to take him time to roll up.
Yeah.
And he'll maybe get 1 or 2 shots on the 57, and then the 57's reloaded, and he can finish him, So, 57 is more, like, they'll use 57s, they'll use 50Bs. I think, like, a mix. I mean, EL is going to do that, right?
Okay.
But what TA really needs to do is... I think, like, stonewall them on certain maps, so, like, really make strong defense and, like, stop them from running around and picking guys off. And then on other maps, they're going to have to cut them off before EL gets the map control. Because we know EL spreads out a lot of times. So for T to really knock them out at the beginning, they would have to, like, focus an attack. Maybe attack while defending, That would really throw EL Gaming off.
An aggressive defensive style of play. Well, we talk about maps and how important they are. We now know what maps we're going to play. Let's go and bring these up. We'll see. You're going to be starting off with Himmelsdorf. Oh, you can see as well that it looks like Ghost Town's going to be our tiebreaker map as well once we get all the way to the bottom. So Himmelsdorf, Ghost Town potentially twice. Mines, Muravanka, Cliff, Prokhorovka, and then Ghost Town. So no veto of Muravanka coming out for this one. So what do we reckon?
Well, on Himmels, I'm thinking EL's gonna do what it usually does, which is rush. It's weird, but like on you look at them on defense, a lot of times they'll like rush in to take positions really early.
Yeah.
113s, 50Bs, autoloader, right? And just go in and try to knock out, because a lot of teams tend to spread out on an attack. So they're kind of counting on T doing that, and then EL's probably just gonna knock them
Well,
And
yeah.
then-
Let's talk about these first, 3 maps to begin with, right?
All
So
right.
we're going to start off on Himmelsdorf. What do we expect to see here? Do we have plays that we see these teams do time and time again that we might expect to see come out here in game number 1?
Elong do a very specific thing that on Himmelsdorf, especially in the defense. They a lot of times 3-1-3s, 350Bs, and an RU.
Mhm.
They'll either rush down the banana and meet them for a fight right there, where they got 3-1-1-3s and 350Bs. Focus fire them down and eliminate all the tanks right then, and the game's gonna be over in like about a minute. Or they'll, if TE's the type of team, which I don't think they are, that go railway, EL will just rush the railway then. They'll read what tanks they have, and then they'll just rush the side that they're on.
Yeah, like I think tank selection decides also a lot of the strats. Like at the beginning, like really, you see what tanks they're picking, and then you kind of like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this because they're taking these types of tanks, right? Defense, I feel that T have taken like a 4005, right?
Yeah, they're one of the teams that tend to use 4005s on the defense.
4005s. Okay, 4005.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
But they use it a lot on the defense. But the player that does normally play that is actually not here today.
Okay.
So we don't know if we'll still see that kind of tank.
Mhm.
But it'd be fun to see it because a pretty fun tank.
And then heading into something like Ghost Town, obviously we're going to get to see potentially this map twice if it goes all the way through. I can see, you guys can't see, but I can see Robbie here just having a bit of a smile when I talk about going to map number 13 between EL and TE. But the potential is fair. I'm gonna vote. My vote says let's do it. I want to see all 13 games. But heading into Ghost Town, how do we think that's going to play out? What does EL normally do on Ghost Town?
That's going to be a straight up 2-0.
It's
It's TE's worst map out of the bunch. Like, you could say Muravanka is the worst, but that's because they haven't played it.
They
So
haven't played it,
We
right.
have no idea.
They
But-
haven't lost a single map on Muravanka so
yeah,
far.
you could say that. But they have lost a fair few. They've lost, I think, got a 30% win rate on Ghost Town. It's not great. But EL, being EL, they're probably going to take a lot of bat chats, 57s, because normally EL, on Ghost Town, they'll be very mobile, and then just split push one area and just take out your tanks there and just run away, because a lot of teams take heavies on Ghost Town. It's a city map. So if you got bats, you can take out the tanks and run away. What are they going to do? Chase you? They can't.
All right, so you're saying no matter what, Ghost Town's going to go across to the guys from EL. That's the prediction.
I'm very optimistic about it. I'm thinking
Yeah.
like they take a lot of tanks that are good at side scraping. They can really negate the autoloader power. I mean, really, the best thing against an autoloader is a side scraping tank, because it's gonna just absorb shells.
Yeah.
And so I would say their best bet would be like to hold certain areas, but they need also fast tanks. That's the problem, right? With versing against autoloaders and GS heavies is never gonna work, because they'll clip and then run. Most of the autoloaders are faster than the super heavies, so the super heavies are never going to be able to catch back up during the clip. So they really need to take two different forces. One force to eat shells, take damage basically.
Yeah, okay. So you need to eat it up and then come through
And then you
try
go
and take them out.
and take them out like little by little. But
Okay.
it's going to be tough.
You need to do it rinse and repeat, essentially. Beat them down one tank at a time.
Against autoloaders, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's the way to go.
And our last map in these first 3 maps is going to be Mines. What do we think about that between this in this matchup?
I think that could be a possible 1-1, because that is statistically EL's worst map. And earlier we were down there, they were doing a lot of climbing and practicing on mines, so they must feel confident on it to pick it very soon.
Well, I guess so. And when I spoke a little bit earlier about the guys from Team Efficiency having a bit of time to work on this, any prep for this LAN, the guys from EL, they came in as number 1 seed. They've known for a long time that they were coming through to this semi-final here in Sydney. They know that they were going to get the trip. They knew that they were coming in as the favourites, and having that undefeated record obviously gave them a lot of confidence. If anyone's had time to prepare, it's going to be EL Gaming, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, most games they're going to have time to prepare. But, I mean, EL, yeah, they have their playstyle on it, but I still feel like really T is going to have to try something really a bit wacky to try to throw them off.
Cheese strat it
Because
up.
if you play standard against EL, they know how to adapt to that. So you sometimes really have to try some crazy,
Quirky stuff.
cool climbs, through the
Yeah.
back, something.
Just, either like even blocking cap or something.
Yeah,
Could work.
I think T will have better luck attacking than defending.
Okay.
Just because the defense, you have to kind of set up to defend, right?
Mhm.
Whereas in attack, you can really choose
more flexibility, right? To do what you want to do, to play the style you want to play.
You choose where you go, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like, on a defense, they're gonna either have to rush in straight through the middle hill, or like play standard. If they play standard, then EL is probably gonna, take it apart. If they play standard, I feel.
Okay. Right.
Unless if they bring 2 mouses, of course.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's almost time to head over to our casters, but before we do, let's get some predictions. I want some real concrete predictions coming out from you boys. So we're playing a best of 13, right? 6 maps. You play attack and defend, and then of course there's a tiebreaker should we need it. So I'm going to start with you, Madhouse. What is your score prediction for this matchup? We're looking for 7. 7's a win.
7's a win, so I reckon EL 7, team efficiency 2, possibly 3, but I'm going with 2.
You're going with 2. 7-2, Madhouse. That is your score. Robbie, what are you going to say?
Well, considering Cliff might be T's map, I'm gonna go 7-3.
Okay, 7-3.
I mean, it's both of us are like 7-2, so
all right.
It's not really looking good for T, I guess. Huh?
Well, I'm going to put in my prediction. I'm going to go 1. I'm going to go 2 better. I'm going to say 7-5.
7-5.
Yeah.
That
and
is
I could come out the real
optimistic.
spanner and say that's 7-5 to team efficiency, but I suspect that's not necessarily the case. I am very much hoping that this goes all the way. Team efficiency wants to prove all of us wrong, I suspect. The guys from EL Gaming coming into this one,
we believe,
as favourites.
We believe.
Exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to head over to our casters. Our excitement is getting right up there here in the studio, and I'm sure it's the same down there in the live audience. Let's head over to Alex and Jordan.
Thank you very much, Ben. Yes, it is fantastic down here in our live audience, and really looking forward to this first match coming out here. Team Efficiency and EL Gaming, some good insight coming out from the analyst desk there. Yeah. What do you think of those predictions, though, Alex?
Oh, well, look, you see, I'm leaning a lot more towards Ben's prediction.
Oh, really?
I think so, and like EL Gaming, they did actually give me one of their jackets a couple of days ago, so it might be a little bit biased towards them, but I think they're our home team here on the Australian soil, so I definitely think they can take a good couple of games off EL Gaming, particularly because like we saw there, the first map is EL's worst map. Yep. And as we know, team efficiency, they're a very momentum-based team. So, we've seen them throughout the season. If they can get off to a good start, then they're the games that they win. And they're the games that they look really good on. So I think a good start there for team efficiency, and they should be on the right path.
Well, I'm not so sure I share your confidence with team efficiency, unfortunately. I'm probably leaning towards more the 7-2 sort of a mark. I just think coming into this one, they know where they sort of sit in this matchup. EL will, of course, know where they sit in this matchup as well. So I think EL will come in with the confidence and just really roll over this one, pretty much. I'm saying maybe 1 or 2 here. If we get onto mines, I think that could go potentially to a 1-1. Muravanka, like we've said, it's sort of a wild card, I guess, a bit for efficiency there as well. But it looks like we're going to get underway with our first map.
Oh, that's what I like to see. We have an FV4005 and an FV215B. 183 picked here for team efficiency. 2 of the tanks that deal the most damage per shot in the game. I'm loving that because, of course, we didn't know where the team efficiency were going to lock those ones in. They're normal player who plays them, not in the country. So I think that's what they need to beat EL Gaming.
Not to mention they also have an AMX 5100 here as well.
Yes, exactly. So, they just need some big rolls, and on Himmelsdorf here, if they put those FVs in the right spots, down the banana, and they get some early shots on towards EL Gaming, they can one-shot those 50Bs if they get a good one.
We'll have to see whether or not that is going to be the case. Team efficiency starting off on the defense here on Himmelsdorf. Looking like they're going to hold over towards the rail tracks. Dexter in sort of the pillbox over towards the 2 flag, but EL Gaming not too interested in that direction of the map. Black is scouting over towards the hill, but really the main battle is going to be taking place down here on the rail tracks. More Safi, Bohan, Skell, they're all spotted here or immediately. And EL Gaming have taken a little bit of damage to start off here, but now they will start to respond, although in saying that, they continue to take shots after shots after shots, and at the moment, Team Efficiency actually have the advantage. Moore has been dropped very low, but overall, it's not looking too bad here for Team Efficiency.
Oh, there we go. So one of EL WGL has just gone down right there. And Team Efficiency, we can see Dexter. He needs to get into the fight. Team Efficiency, they are 1 AMX 5100 down right now. So overall, though, 9.2 KHP, TE are leading EL Gaming in the hit points.
TE are just charging straight forward. The 4005 and the 215B trying to really get involved in this fight. Skell and Bolognese just trying to find something that they can shoot at the moment. And they're not finding it. Quiet has been able to pick up one. Another Team Efficiency player just went down before that. And EL now have the player advantage.
Nice. And in the meantime, though, look at this. We can see from Team Efficiency's perspective, they see a red dot behind them. That's an AMX 1390. He's going to cause some issues for Team Efficiency. And just like that, well, another member of TE falls, and suddenly it's not looking too good for them, Jordan.
No, not at all. I mean, Skell does find a kill there, but overall, there's so many players alive here for EL Gaming. Moore in his AMX 50B, only on 53 HP. Dexter is going to be trying to do some damage here, but in the end, Moore is going to go down regardless. And overall, we've just got 2 remaining tanks here for Team Efficiency. It started off so well for them, but, you know, EL Gaming, in EL Gaming fashion, they just find ways to get the damage that they need and pick up the victories.
Yeah, there we go. So it did start off very well for Team Efficiency here, but it's looking like it will just be a job for EL Gaming to mop up the remaining member. Skell there on 172 HP. Going down. Ooh, well, one thing is for sure, Jordan. EL Gaming, we didn't know how they were going to perform here in Sydney, but they're off to a good start.
They definitely have started off quite nicely, and a little unfortunate there for EL because it did look like for a moment they might be getting off on the front foot, you know, really like we spoke about, how they need to start well, and maybe then they can convert that into a bit of momentum and roll along and find 2 or 3 rounds here or there. But unfortunately, I mean, I feel like the start that they got and then to lose like they did is going to just be the complete opposite effect.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. Look, I really would like to see Team Efficiency take this next half here on Himmelsdorf, because if they don't, then, you know, like you said, they are in a little bit of trouble. But the way that EL started that one off, it was a little bit different. So perhaps that could have been one of the strategies that, you know, we were talking to the EL guys. They do have a few saved up. They wouldn't tell us, of course, which is probably a pretty smart move. But that rail yard push that I'm trying to think, but I don't think we've seen from them so far this season, or maybe once.
Not too much. I mean, EL Gaming, they tend to try and take control of the hill or take control of banana.
Yeah.
I think a little surprising there actually for Team Efficiency as well to pick up those 2 tank destroyers.
Look, I mean, I suppose their thinking there was that, okay, they can't just play standard, because like the guys on the desk were saying, you know, if you play standard against EL Gaming, that is what they are adept at dealing with. So throwing in 2 tanks in the mix, which, you know, do have a chance to literally one-shot some of EL Gaming's tanks, I did like that as an idea. You know, if you're going to go with something, it's kind of like double or nothing of a roll of the dice. You know, you can get a giant shot with those 183s or the FV4005, and it can deal up to 2.2 thousand damage. On the other end, if it doesn't quite go through the armor, then you are stuck, and, you know, you might deal something like 700 damage or so, and that thing has a big reload time, about 24 seconds on that gun. So, you know, you really need to make it work. And I didn't see any giant shots coming out from those 2 during the battle. And that's really what Team Efficiency needed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of hard to say whether or not it worked. I mean, it kind of looked okay to begin with, but as we're going to see off these replays here, really, Team Efficiency, even though they started off well, things really just sort of started to fall apart in towards the middle of the battle there.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely did start off well. We can see them there with a bit of a advantage, but just like that, EL Gaming, they're able to focus fire.
Yep.
That's what we know them for, doing so well, is once they get into a fight, once they get into a brawl, they'll be so cohesive. You know, I'm not too sure if the guys even need to say, oh yeah, target this guy, target that guy. They all just gel so well and shoot themselves.
Like you could see across the board. I mean, Moore, obviously he survived with a very slight amount of HP, but that's because he got himself out of there. as soon as he was sort of out of the picture there for EL Gaming, they focused on another tank, ignored everyone else, then moved on to the next and the next and the next.
Yeah.
Every so often, you'd see a team efficiency player fall. Not so much, obviously, for EL Gaming. We didn't see too many of them go down to start things off. So I think a very confident win to start off here for EL Gaming. They'll be feeling very good going into the second half. I'm calling a 2-0 here on Himmelsdorf.
You're calling a 2-0 here on Himmelsdorf? Well, you see, you can call a 2-0 here on Himmelsdorf. I still think team efficiency, I like the way they started that one off. So we can see there that EL Gaming, obviously that auto load of the AMX 50B up the top of the damage dealt, and for Quiet to deal 4.2k damage in his first game at our WGL APAC Season 1 2016 to 2017 finals, that is massive.
It's definitely a good sign for EL. Obviously, you want to get your players onto a bit of a roll early on in the piece, and obviously we see Sunmi and Guanren chiming in there as well in the 113s. That's actually pretty respectable damage coming out of a 113 as well. I guess Skell's done his job, I suppose, in the 4005, but again, it just wasn't enough.
Exactly, not quite enough, and we don't see the 183 anywhere in that top 7, so that's, again, not what team efficiency would have been looking for, and there we go. So that's one of those situations where the 183's rolls just don't get high enough. It doesn't go into the right part of the armor, and that high explosive squashed head shell that it fires just doesn't deal that much damage. So unfortunate there for Bolognese.
And nice, he didn't even do any damage there, and EL still won. So they still have a little bit left in the tank, no pun intended. But obviously, things are looking very good here for EL.
They are. Look, and on the attack, they were on the attack there on Himmelsdorf.
Yes,
Right, so statistically, they do have a 100% win rate on Himmelsdorf attack. So
that's true.
Technically speaking, they have lost on Himmelsdorf defense.
They have. Once?
So, once.
One time.
Once. Bear with me.
I'm bearing.
But I think we could see it twice here. I
a 1-1. You think a 1-1?
I think a 1-1. I think a 1-1 here because EL on the defense, team efficiency on the defense here on on the attack here on Himmelsdorf. Look, they've won 5 and lost 5, so not the most outstanding stats, I guess, but it's still doable. They can obviously win, and it's a lot better than their defensive win rate, which is sitting at 38%. So look, it's definitely doable here for team efficiency, but they do just need to keep their heads in the game, make sure that they don't get kind of tilted early on.
Well, the problem with this, I think, as we go into the tank picks here for team efficiency...
There we go.
Yeah, again, I'm not a fan of that on the attack. I think you can make an argument for the 4005 and the 215B 183 on the defense, where the opponent's going to be coming to you. But when you have to make the moves and go to your opponent, I just don't feel like the 4005 and the 183 are going to have the opportunities.
You say that, but it might be EL banking the move towards team efficiency here, because that's what they do like to do sometimes on Himmelsdorf. So overall, I think that it definitely can work for them. Let's put it that way.
Well, we'll see whether or not it is going to work for them, because we're into the game here. EL on the defense. Second half of the map here, really, on Himmelsdorf. Black has gone, reasonably aggressive, actually, with that RU-251. I'm not really sure what he's actually doing there, to be honest.
Okay, in the meantime, though, team efficiency, I am liking this at the moment. They are just setting up quite defensively near their spawn, down in that kind of K6 and H8 area. And they are ready for EL if EL push in towards them. Got some good crossfire set up. In the meantime, what Dexter's doing up on the top of the hill there, he's just scouting out for EL. So they're trying to get some early map control, and I really like that from team efficiency. And with Bohan up there in that, Bolognese up there in that FV215B 183, that means that if Dexter gets a spot in his light tank, then EL could be facing a 2200 damage shell coming down from the hill.
Yeah, potentially. I think across the board here, it's actually a little interesting, the players that we're seeing, in particular tanks, for team efficiency, because obviously we know Party is not here at this event, and they are, I suppose, very reliant almost on him. He's sort of the player that tends to be the one in the 4005 for team efficiency. And as a result, because he's not here, we see Skell in the 4005. So he's sort of playing a position or a role that he's not necessarily used to.
Yeah.
Which also means Dexter is now filling the role of Skell, who typically is the one in that 1390.
Yeah, that definitely could be a problem for team efficiency here. Just not being quite so confident with their lineups, but Bohan there, we can see him trying to do a bit of a side scrape, and I think Sunmi there, he's just put a high explosive shell in towards Bohan there, so a surefire counter to side scraping in that 113. Ooh. But look at this.
Here comes Skell. At the moment, he doesn't have a shot on Sunmi. I don't know if Sunmi actually knows Skell is there. I don't think he's spotted. Doesn't look like it.
You can see him there aiming down the sights and trying to get some shots on towards that EL member in the 113 down there. Of course, 113s, when they're poking like this, very, very hard to get a shell through them. So obviously you've got that nice, strong, angled turret armor. It's only showing its side, which again, very hard to pen from that angle. So, both of these guys playing this little 1v1 pretty well.
Dexter starting to move forward a little bit there down the hill. He's going to spot out Flag in a second and give Team Efficiency just a little bit more information. It's been a very slow play style so far from Team Efficiency, and that's sort of, again, not necessarily something that we see from them all that much. They do tend to be a team that likes to be aggressive, but when you're going up against EL, who also like to be aggressive, you can't really face EL at their own game.
Yeah, no, that's an issue, and I don't really like how Dexter there has just taken a big shot from one of those 113s. Obviously, Dexter is in the AMX 1390, so the tier 8 tank.
He's done it again as well. He's just crossed back, so he's essentially lost 90% of his HP for really he's only spotted out Flag.
Yeah, I mean, they do gain a little bit of map control and knowledge, knowing that Flag is down there. But yeah, definitely, like you said, it's not worth giving away 900 HP for, well, if you're not going to use that information. But it looks like Team Efficiency, they have decided to head up a little bit, and a couple of them heading up towards this one flag here. So perhaps they might try and split EL apart, I think. If they go onto the one flag and push the 113 and 183 up that banana line, then EL are going to have to deal with both lines at the same time, potentially.
Potentially, but we'll see how well that works out really for Team Efficiency, because at the moment they've actually taken quite a lot of damage. EL have yet to actually take a shot, so overall this is sort of the slow and steady wins that we do occasionally see coming out from EL, where every now and then they will just play very safely, play very defensively, pick off a single shot here and there, and then all of a sudden their opponents are 3k, 4k, 5k down on HP, and that's when EL Gaming will pull the trigger and really take it to their opponent. So sort of the snowball effect starting to come out here already in the favour of EL.
Yeah, definitely a good start here for EL Gaming. It's Team Efficiency. I'm liking how they are being quite cautious here. They're not just rushing in, thinking about every move that they make. And I like Gamer's position. He's made his way all the way up towards that one flag there, and that's a very nice position to try and trade with the EL members up the north of the rail yard from. So he can just poke out from that building and be in a pretty good spot. But in the meantime, as we can see from Team Efficiency's perspective, they aren't ready for a cohesive push. I think that idea of the split push has died, and in the meantime, we're actually seeing EL send 2 tanks up the hill, and I think Bolognese might be in trouble soon.
Yeah, huge amounts of information here for EL Gaming. They know that there's no one from Team Efficiency over towards that eastern side of the map, and now they will start to, this is sort of what the analysts spoke about, where EL will start to get control of the map, really start to enclose their opponents, and once they know exactly where their opponent is and where their opponent can't move from that position, then EL Gaming will really just take the map away.
Yeah, and it's not quite at that point yet, but with Bolognese kind of getting, very close towards those 2 EL Gaming tanks on the hill, still worried about that, and Skell, he needs to try and trade those shots in that FE4005, otherwise he's just taken 800 damage and dealt none in return. That's a situation where he really needs to try and get a shot off to punish those EL tanks, and oh, look at this, Bolognese. I'm liking what Bolognese is doing. Very aggressive down the banana. EL might not be expecting it.
Yeah, but can he do the damage across the Sunmi that he needs? A 113 is obviously not going to be super easy for Bolognese to one-shot. So we'll have a look and see. He's got some backup from Moore. That might be just enough. Sunmi does take a shot. I don't think that was the amount of damage that they were looking for from that 215B183 rather. And Moore, he's just trying to salvage it at the moment, but really what's happening is he's just giving free shots over to EL Gaming. Moore does get all of his shots off, But overall, look at all the damage that's been done to him.
Yeah, it's definitely not a trade that was worthwhile there. And as Bolognese tries to get the reload happening, oh no, tank coming in from behind, it's Black.
Yeah, Black's obviously the IU-251 not doing the most damage to Bolognese there, but it's enough to force him back out of that situation. He was trying to get a trade there with Flag, and now he can't really do that because he knows that he's under so much pressure. Black is just being such a nuisance to the 215B183 here. Bolognese, he has to go forward. He has to look for a shot here, and we'll see if he can pull it off.
Wasn't he going for Flag?
Yeah, he's well...
Oh, 600 damage.
Yeah. Again, not quite the role that he needed.
No.
Moore is going to be able to clean that kill up, but Moore himself is going to be traded, and overall, it's going to be a 2-for-1 in the favour of EL Gaming.
Oh, well, lucky that Flag did not get that ram kill onto Moore. That could have been a little bit disappointing, but Moore does go down anyway, and look, Jordan, you are right with that flag cap just being reset by Black. Hopes for team efficiency are looking very, very grim with only 4 tanks left. Now 3. It's looking like EL Gaming here will be able to close out their second half of Himmelsdorf. And, oh, there's a good shot on towards Black.
Yeah, but, I mean, really not what team efficiency needed. They
Too little, too late.
They needed one of the 50Bs and probably another one of the 50Bs and then maybe 113 after that to go down.
Yeah.
And, well, the RU251 is none of those, unfortunately, for team efficiency. They've only got about, or just under 2 minutes left now. 3 tanks left alive, as you said. EL Gaming, so many left on the field. And, as you say, EL Gaming looking like they should be able to close this one out. 2-0 to start things off on Himmelsdorf.
Yep, and we can see team efficiency there. Look, they have gotten quite a few spots, and so they did know where EL Gaming were towards the last half of that little trade when they pushed up the middle, but at that point just not enough tanks on the field for team efficiency. And you can see Skell here, he's about to be encircled. He might be able to get a one shot here if Fox TS pokes, but no, it's not looking like it.
Yeah, Quiet's going to clean him up as well. All down to Gamer. 1 versus 5, and only a matter of time really before he gets cleaned up here. Guanran looks like he's going to try and get it done. Doesn't manage to penetrate the shell, but here comes Nice charging in from the side. And that is going to be that. EL Gaming start off with the 2-0. Fantastic work on Himmelsdorf. And really making team efficiency look, you know, like sort of an easy opponent.
Well, there's no doubt about it, Jordan. They are very much looking on fire on their usual form today. EL Gaming. So team efficiency there. After getting taken out on Himmelsdorf, I think they've got to look forward. But
well, I don't know how favourable that will be for them, but I guess we'll finish your point and we'll talk about the next map in a bit.
Yeah, exactly. But just touching back again on that second half there on Himmelsdorf, I really felt as though team efficiency, they didn't get off to a good enough start as they did on the first half.
Yeah.
They again played very defensively, and I almost would call that standard, like super standard play, what team efficiency did early on.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the style that we've seen from some of the Korean teams this season, where they would start off very far back, maybe push one tank up into the hill, and with the AMX 1390 pushed up into the hill there, again, I actually think this recent patch, 9.16, has, might have contributed there to, the issue that AMX 1390 for team efficiency had, because previously you could roll down the hill in an AMX 1390, and even if someone was looking at the entrance to the road there, there wouldn't be enough time. You wouldn't spot them in time to actually get a shot off, right? But now, in the 9.16 update, that's changed things.
Improved spotting.
Exactly, improved spotting. So basically, as soon as that AMX 1390 now pokes out from the road, when it's zooming down the hill, he instantly gets spotted.
Yeah.
And whereas before, it would have been free, now it costs 500 health.
Well, it cost him 500 health twice.
Yeah.
Because he went there and then he went back. And overall, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that was the only thing that necessarily went wrong for team efficiency, but a contributing factor. And as we said, EL Gaming, they just take these little advantages over and over and over again, and eventually it all sort of mounts up, becomes a big advantage, and they're able to pick up a very easy win overall. So 2-0 after the first 2 rounds on Himmelsdorf.
And this push by Moore, and I think it was Saf, really...
Bolognese, I think it was.
Bolognese, even. I didn't like that at all. They pushed out...
Yeah, they kind of had to do something, though.
Yeah.
They had to cause a distraction so that maybe those guys over on the rail tracks were going to be able to find something there as well. But overall, it was never going to be an easy situation there for Team Efficiency after all that HP that they had lost early on in the piece.
Yeah. No, it's always going to be tricky. And, a tank like the FV4005, it has a win rate that really reflects how it plays. It's hovering around the 50% mark. So, wins half, loses half. And it is just the case that in some games you do get those big rolls, but like we saw there, when it was Bolognese firing at that 113... 660 damage. Yeah. It's like, if you're going to do that, you may as well just pick a grill or something.
Yeah.
So very, very disappointing there for Team Efficiency to start off with. But our next map is Ghost Town. We can see more there, warming up his hands. It is a little chilly in our studio here, but it is looking great. And I'm sure the crowd here is enjoying watching the best teams in APAC start to battle it out in our finals.
Once again, we're going to see an EL Gaming member up towards the top of the scoreboards there. 3.7k for Flag. Not too bad for him. A couple of entries there for Team Efficiency, but again, really, when you look across the board, it's very EL Gaming dominated.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is good to see Gamer and Bohan there. Gamer got some really nice ricochets as well. Bohan, of course, he's a recent addition to Team Efficiency. He's been brought on mainly as a heavy tank player. And
I think he's done well.
I think he's done really well. Bohan, really, I think, was one of the key factors in Team Efficiency's match in the playoffs to actually get them here. He played some fantastic heavy tanks on Prokhorovka.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I was going to say. He had a great game against Karen Tiger in that 113 where he essentially won the match for Team Efficiency. That was on the tiebreaker as well, so...
Look at that.
Yeah, that's not good.
Look at that scale. The FV4005.
5 shots.
65 damage. And you might...
He got a kill.
Oh, he did get a kill, actually, I suppose.
I think he was the one that cleaned up Black in the RE251.
Right. Well, unfortunately for Skell, 65 damage is probably not going to be enough.
No.
In a FV4005. Of course, that British Tier 10 tank destroyer along with that FV215B183.
Neither of which really had a good time in this one, like I said.
And that's the issue, right? Like, I suppose, in a way, I now don't really like those picks. Because thinking about it, particularly on the second half where EO were always going to pick those 113s again, that Chinese Tier 10 heavy, it is very hard to actually get the 183 or the 4005 to go through and get max damage on the heavy.
Yeah.
On the 113. So in that respect, because EL were always going to pick them, maybe they could have gone with something different. I don't know.
I think 2 is a bit of an overuse of it. You could have gone for an FV4005 or the 215B183, but not both. And in that case, obviously, TE went for it. Didn't work out for them. Moving on to Ghost Town, I don't expect that we will see either of those really coming out here. If we're going to see a tank destroyer, probably it will be the Grill 15. But to me, again, that doesn't really seem like something that Team Efficiency will pick up here. I feel like they're just going to go for that relatively standard tank, heavy tank sort of a setup. Maybe chuck an E100 in here to sort of counteract the bat chats that we probably would expect to see coming out from EL Gaming.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they do end up picking that E100 here.
They have done it in the past.
Yeah, exactly. They have in the past. But my real concern for Team Efficiency here on Ghost Town is that they really, for whatever reason, they like focusing on the 2 flag. And it never, ever works out for them. Ghost Town, statistically, right, you would think that being first pick of Team Efficiency, it's a pretty good map. Well, unfortunately, it's not. They have a,
savage.
Sorry, guys, but they've got a 43% win rate in it. So, really not too flash at all. But we can hear EL Gaming there getting nice and hyped.
Oh.
And let's see what we've got here, Jordan.
Yeah, well, we thought Team Efficiency might be the ones to take the E100s. In fact, it's going to be EL Gaming, and no bat chats for EL. Just one there
strange.
for TE. I mean, they've got the 25 TAP as well. But, yeah, it does seem like they've almost swapped strategies in a sense.
Yeah, very much so. So here on Ghost Town, of course, it's a very symmetrical map. So you can often use the same strategies that you make on the attacking side on the defensive side in terms of positioning. But that's not what we're used to seeing from EL. And personally, I actually think it limits them quite a bit because they can't get those bat chats into flank. We've seen EL use those bat chats so well in the past. You know, Guan Ren is so deadly in those ones, and now that he's stuck in an E100, it definitely limits him. So overall, I'm liking this start here from Team Efficiency.
That's a very good scout, though, from Black. He spotted out 3 or 4 of those Team Efficiency members.
Yep.
Safi's already been dropped down by a little bit of HP. I think he just got tracked. He's had to use his repair kit, too. There goes almost half of his HP before the fight has even really started here. And I was going to say, before we sort of got into the map, that Safi and Skell, for me, were going to have to be the ones for Team Efficiency that would really need to be the ones pushing them to a victory, because they have the mobility, they have the potential to make the plays where the heavy tanks maybe don't. And now that Safi's already lost half of his HP, you know, that's going to make his job super difficult.
Yeah, look, he's going in for another scout here. I'm not a big fan of that. But we can see, Team Efficiency, they're doing the TE thing, Jordan. They're pushing towards the 2 flag. And maybe they're trying to flank around towards the back of EL Gaming, but the issue is now EL have just got themselves on towards that 1 cap, and certainly Skell and the rest of Team Efficiency, they're not ready for a cohesive push in towards that flag, but they need to do it within 45 seconds.
Yeah, this is a very good setup for EL. Whenever someone from Team Efficiency is going to try and cross in here and get the free set, they're going to be met with a couple of E100s, and, well, we've seen how that's worked out for Bohan. It's working out not so great either for Gamer, who's taken a shot as well. And Team Efficiency, slowly but surely, are losing HP across the board. EL Gaming, they have the pressure that they're putting on Team Efficiency, and at the moment, Efficiency is just not responding.
Well, they're not responding, but now they finally get around that corner, and I am liking where Skell's moving in that bat chat AP, looking for a flank, but trading against E100s is never going to work here for Team Efficiency. And we can see EL in those AMX 50Bs, spotting out Team Efficiency, communicating well, trying to get those last couple of shells out in the clip here for Nice, and there we go, pinpoint accurate shot on towards the bat chat.
We've already seen one player go down here for Team Efficiency. That's more in the AMX 50B. Gamer gets dropped as well, and now the E100s start their slow but steady march forward. Flag soaking up so much damage here from Team Efficiency, and that's his job. He needs to be taking those shots so that the T57 Heavy behind him isn't.
Oh, yeah, and unfortunately, Quiet there has just taken down Bohan. Bohan was ricocheting a nice amount of shots. Skell there is going to be coming in to reset the cap. EL still have 2 tanks on the cap, but at this point, Team Efficiency are so down in HP, 2,500, about down 4,000 to EL Gaming, and EL are just going to start mopping up the remaining members in, well, that was, again, not the strategy that we're used to seeing from EL here on Ghost Town. A lot more of a slower, heavy tank-oriented strategy, but they've just shown us they can play it as well.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing here for Team Efficiency was Safi getting dropped so low early on in the piece really restricted the effectiveness that he was able to pull off with that bad chat. And I mean, Skell, yes, he got the reset. It was very late, but he kind of needed the backup as well from his tier 10 bat chat buddy, which wasn't there because Safi wasn't able to move around the map with him. So the advantage, I suppose, that Efficiency had was that mobility, and that was essentially nullified straight off the bat.
Yep. Yeah, no, very, very, very tricky there for Team Efficiency. And look, you can see what they were maybe trying to do by pushing their tanks below the 2 flag and maybe making a push back around towards the back of EL Gaming, but they didn't have super fast tanks either. You know, no. Team Efficiency were all in heavies, and by the time they actually met EL Gaming there, you know, EL were ready on the corners. It's not like EL overcommitted and you know, left their flank unguarded. EL were perfectly ready for that. They had the AMX 50Bs. They traded them out really well. The flank didn't really work, and I mean, just it's outplayed.
Yeah,
here from EL Gaming.
I'm very surprised to see Team Efficiency actually picking Ghost Town as their first pick as well. Maybe down the track, you could make an argument for it, but here, Ghost Town is really not a map that they've had much success on, and it is a very good map as well for EL Gaming. So the sense for me is maybe not quite there, to be honest. I would have rather seen Team Efficiency maybe on Cliff. We know, obviously, that's a very good map for EL Gaming, but at least it's a decent map for Team Efficiency as well.
Yeah, no, definitely, and you know, picking Ghost Town here, it's interesting because we were chatting right, with the team efficiency guys just last night. And we were talking to them about some of the stats, and they were giving us a bit of a ribbing, Jordan, about
maybe you, not me. They were very nice to me.
Well, generally about your stats.
No,
which
never.
Exactly, which we've been referring to over the course of the season, and statistically, they're really good on maps like Ruinberg and bad on maps like Ghost Town, but they didn't realise that.
Yeah.
When we told them, they were like, "Oh wow."
I told them they had over a 60% win rate on Ruinberg. They're like, no way.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But look, surprising to them, I suppose.
Yeah, here, just complete outplay by EL Gaming. They pushed the Amex 50B, the 113, up there to just clean up those couple of heavies from team efficiency. And Bohan there, he ricocheted 2 E100 shots.
Yeah.
So he has done as much as he, humanly can to try and turn that little brawl into
especially
team
in a tier 9
favour.
heavy.
Exactly. But just not enough in the end, unfortunately.
Do you think maybe it would have been a better idea to have Bohan up in the 113? Because he, to me, feels like the guy that's come into this lineup to be the heavy tank player. And to sort of relegate him to a tier 9 heavy when he could have been in a tier 10?
Yeah, the WZ. I mean, look, the WZ's a great heavy, and...
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you still can sort of ricochet a few shots with it, and I suppose the question is whether you want to have Bohan in the highest impact heavy that he can possibly be in which case, yes, you do want the 113. So, very, very tricky. But maybe it's another case of maybe Bohan's the only player on team efficiency who's comfortable in the WZ when they need to pick it.
Potentially.
But yes, very, very tricky here for team efficiency after that half there on Ghost Town.
Yeah, and we know, obviously, that EL Gaming is very strong on Ghost Town. They're actually even stronger on the defense here than the attack. So,
oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Well, we can see that Bolognese there. He pulled his weight.
He definitely did. 4,000 is probably more than you can hope for, really, out of a 50B.
Yeah, well, exactly, and it just goes to show, you can have one star player on your team in a match like that, but you really do need a whole team effort to take out the win. And unfortunately for team efficiency, it just wasn't quite enough for them. Bohan's 4k damage, but we can see down the bottom there as well, Moore and Dexter in those AMX 50Bs, only getting really 2 shots through.
Yeah, it's really not a great scorecard there for team efficiency overall. Again, another good one for EL, but I guess that's what you expect out of a match like that. But going back to the point I was making about Ghost Town, EL Gaming is very good on the defense. Team efficiency is not very good on the attack. I think we're in for another 2-0 here coming out.
Another 2-0.
Yeah, I think it's 4-0.
Look, honestly, I would love to say that team efficiency will win one half here on Ghost Town, but I just don't think it'll happen. It is not their strongest map, and I've never seen a strategy from team efficiency on Ghost Town that I've been like, oh, wow. Look at that team efficiency. They really look good on Ghost Town. I've never seen that. I've seen them pull through in wins. I've seen them, get a few standard push cap wins, but I've never been super impressed with it. So, yes, I'm going to be going 4-0 at the end of it as well.
It is quite surprising because it's one of their most played maps and one of their most picked maps as well, but they just don't have a great record on it. So, I don't know, maybe something that they can consider next season. Whether or not they're going to continue.
Might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Well, who knows, maybe they'll come back and win it.
You say that, I don't know. I don't have faith at this point. I think it's 2-0, like I said.
You never have faith, Jordan.
No, I think I'm much more of a realist at times than you are.
You're a statistician.
Yes, exactly. I look at the stats, I'm like, 40%, 89%. No. I think we're going to go with 89% here. Anyway, we're going to get into the second half here, and looking across at the tank picks, it's nothing too surprising, actually, this time.
Yeah, this is quite a bit more standard.
Again, a little bit more of a heavy-oriented lineup from EL. Might expect to see a bat chat or two in there.
Exactly. No bat chats there. And, I actually wonder if EL picking no bat chats here has to do with the recent patch, in a way, sort of nerfing the bat chats because they get spotted faster. And in a way, that's a indirect nerf to their mobility's usefulness, if you will. But anyway,
potentially, I think you could make that argument.
Let's take a look at where these teams are rolling out to.
Well, Team Efficiency heading up towards the one flag. Seems like EL Gaming have a pretty good read on this one, and EL are just going to charge straight in there. Gamer has been spotted out. Fox TS actually taking a few shots here.
A lot of shots.
Bolognese has started taking a few as well. We'll see if Fox TS can actually survive this. He's down to 153 HP. Could be the first to drop here, but Bolognese, he's been focused down super hard here by EL Gaming and will in fact be the first to go down. Fox TS eventually gets dropped, but across the board, EL Gaming actually losing a lot of HP here. 6,000 to Team Efficiency's 8,000. This is not looking too great for EL.
TE on the reload though, and I think EL are going to start to even it up now with all of those auto loaders reloading now. Gamer in that 113 is the only member that can deal damage, and he unfortunately is not going to have a reload up for another 4 seconds or so.
Black's going to stop this shot as well.
Oh,
Gamer
look at that.
Should not be able to kill Guanren here. Black's doing such a good job. More in the end does go down.
It's a 3v3.
Guanren, but overall, great stuff from EL Gaming there, and you're right. 3v3. HP still favouring Team Efficiency for now, and those bat chats going to be coming off reload very shortly.
Yes, and this is actually really good for Team Efficiency. All of those auto loaders coming off super soon, and when they do, Black should be toast here from Safi, unless Flag has something to say about it. And it looks like, Safi not getting behind the corner in time.
They've still had a pretty favourable trade, about 1k each. So EL Gaming getting dropped ever so lower.
Yeah, actually, EL Gaming, they're actually not looking too healthy at all. And Quiet, look at that. Quiet only has 2 shells in the clip.
That's not good at all. Flag puts a shot into Moore. I don't even think he managed to do the damage there, but in the end, Moore does take a bit of damage.
Beautiful.
Black goes down. Another kill.
Skell's coming from behind. I love this.
Great stuff from Skell as well. As you say, he comes around behind. Quiet has no idea where to look. If he looks back towards Skell, he's going to get taken from the front. If he looks towards the front, he'll be taken from the back.
Beautiful.
And that's it. Team Efficiency close out their first round here at the Sydney Finals.
There we go. Team Efficiency have finally done it. We can see them putting their hands in the air. They're getting excited now. And they have just proven that they can at least take a game off EL Gaming here at the finals. And
that's the best that's the best that they've done so far. Because the last time we've seen these two teams face, 5-1 to EL, 5-0 to EL. So, at the moment, it's 3-1 to EL. They have a chance to go one better.
Yep. And that's Ghost Town done. So Team Efficiency actually picking up a game on their weakest map against EL. I mean, again,
statistically weakest. I think if you ask them, what's your weakest map, I don't think they'd say Ghost Town.
No, exactly.
Yes.
Like they think they hate Ruinberg, you know.
Even though they've got a 70% win rate on it.
Like we tell them last night, oh yeah, guys, why don't you pick Ruinberg more? They're like, oh, we're bad at it. Like,
no, you're not.
No, you're not. Like they're like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, so there we go. That's Ghost Town done.
Yeah.
3-1. And, you know, maybe Team Efficiency, they're just kind of getting, you know, used to it, warmed up for that Himmelsdorf map. I think they've definitely still got a good crack at this, Jordan.
Oh, well, we'll see. Depends on how they go up on Mines. I mean, that one definitely for me could be a 1-1.
Yep.
Obviously, the next map coming out is going to be Mines. But interestingly enough, it's EL Gaming's pick, so that's a little surprising. And we'll have a look at the replays here. This is kind of where things went wrong for EL Gaming. They tried to engage a fight, and they were missing Black, so they were essentially one tank down for quite a lot of the time here. And the focus fire, which we normally see very good, we normally see being very good from EL Gaming.
Yeah.
Here you can see they're taking shots onto Dexter, taking shots onto Moore. They're not focusing their targets down like we're used to seeing them.
No, exactly. And again, EL Gaming here, they have definitely changed their tank picking mentality. I'm not sure if it's just against Team Efficiency. I don't think it is. I think if they keep up with what they're doing now, we're going to be seeing a lot more heavies from them. And they haven't won this season, Jordan, playing heavies.
No.
You know?
No.
So perhaps that could be another factor.
Again, this is sort of what we needed to see from Team Efficiency in the first half of Ghost Town. The mobility of those bat chats coming in and coming up trumps in that very sort of clutch situation, that 3v3. Skell gets behind, and from that point, they're always going to win that fight. So that's what didn't happen in the first half, where Safi got dropped so low, he wasn't able to do that. Skell had to go out on his own. You know, can't do so much in the Batchat 25T AP, being a tier 9 tank as opposed to a tier 10. But this time, things worked out quite a lot better there for Team Efficiency, and as a result, they pick up the win. Flag still up towards the top of the scoreboard there, but this time,
look at that.
A few more Team Efficiency faces coming up on towards the top 7.
2 tier 9s for Team Efficiency in positions 3 and 5 on the damage stats. And that Batchat 25T AP, the tier 9 Batchat there, that has such a high win rate throughout this season.
Yeah.
You know, it's around about that 60% mark, which, you know, for a season with however many battles we've played so far, 97, that is a lot of battles. Lots of them have had that Batchat AP in.
Yep.
You know, it is statistically a fantastic tank. And we're seeing why. If you don't take down the Batchat APs, then they will deal as much damage as
a 50B.
Exactly, as a 50B without any problem. And, you know, team efficiency, what I really like here, I'm not sure whether my rambling to them has affected them or not, but they used to pick T54A1s.
Yeah.
Here on Ghost Town, leading into the last few weeks of the season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, they always picked one,
Yep.
right? But here we're not seeing that. We're seeing the Batchat AP, and I like that a lot better. It's got a lot more mobility, more shells in the clip, you know, just a little bit more versatile, a little bit more survivable as well, just because of its mobility. So I do really like that coming out of team efficiency there.
Well, it's worked out pretty well. They've picked up one on Ghost Town. It's still not a great situation overall for team efficiency, but at least they might be able to start to build off this little platform that they might have, built a little bit on. EL Gaming, though, still looking pretty confident into this one. 3-1 up at the moment after the first two maps. Himmelsdorf and Ghost Town out of the way. Moving on to Mines next. It is EL Gaming's pick, but we know on paper it's actually EL Gaming's worst map.
Yeah, exactly. Mines is not a strong point for EL Gaming, and really, if I was them, I wouldn't have picked it. You know, no way. Because it's the only map that they don't look like EL.
I don't understand. Okay, so the very last map in the pool is Prokhorovka.
Yeah.
Which is one of EL Gaming's best maps.
87% win rate.
Why are they not picking Prokhorovka?
Exactly.
Where they picked Mines?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a chance for team efficiency to potentially take two games. Look, it's not going to be easy for them, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they could.
They could. I don't know if they will.
And EL on Mines, I wonder again if we're going to see them pick these heavies again, or if they're going to go with any Batchats.
I think, generally speaking, what EL Gaming do on Mines is they pick a couple of 113s, heading towards that flag on the coastal side of the map, on the beach, and they push the heavies very far forward, try to wrap around behind the hill a little bit with those. And it never seems to work out for them. So we'll have to see what team efficiency do to counteract that. I think starting off, EL is going to be on the attack, so we'll probably see that pretty early on in the piece, what team efficiency is going to decide to do. When we saw B Gaming playing EL Gaming on Mines, they had sort of a very tank destroyer heavy lineup. They had a 215B183, or they had two 215B183s. I think they might have also had an artillery. So it was a very strange setup, but it was very clear that it was sort of an anti-EL Gaming strategy.
Yeah, very much so. But let's take a look at what tanks these guys...
Oh, Grill 15, M40-43.
M40, I'm loving that. They're bringing the Tier 8 American artillery piece.
But EL Gaming don't have those 113s.
No.
So that kind of puts a bit of a spanner in the works here.
Yeah, this is tricky.
This is looking like a rush the hill strat for EL Gaming.
Very much so, I think. And here we can see Mines, of course. That hill in the center of the map is what most teams will be gunning to control. If you get up there, you can see everywhere. You gain so much map control, so much vision. Let's see if they go for it.
Oh, well, we're going to find out momentarily. It's not going to take them long to get there. EL Gaming starting off on the attack here. Doesn't seem like team efficiency is too keen on going for that hill, but EL Gaming certainly is. And, well, this is very different for team efficiency. We don't generally see the defenders push all the way down here onto the beach.
No, and Bohan in the meantime, I think, or maybe even Safi getting some spots on towards those EL Gaming members on the hill who have kind of lit him up a little bit, 600 damage.
I like the boost, though, from Safi. I guess it's kind of more of a counter boost, almost.
Yeah.
Because, generally speaking, we'll see the attacking side boosting up on this side of the on the map. But Safi getting up there early is kind of going to make life a little difficult there for EL Gaming.
Yep.
He gets a lot of spots from up in there, and it's a very good firing position as well. So... good stuff from team efficiency. I don't think that we've seen them pull this off throughout the league stages either. So that's maybe something new that they've brought up here into the finals. Does look like Black is going to be going for the boost, though, over towards the other side of the map for EL Gaming. So they may meet up the top there. And in that situation...
wonder if Bohan will see him.
Well, I don't think so.
No, he's moving back.
If Black gets up there, it's definitely going to favour him because Safi's already taken a little bit of damage. He knows they're both in the same tank, and he's going to win the fight.
Well, that's the thing. You say that, And you might have forgotten what EL might forget here as well. The Team Efficiency have the M40.
That's true.
Right? And yes, the hill's not easy for an M40 to shoot up, but there are definitely still spots up there where an M40 shell can land. So Skell having a spot on towards Black, that is what Safi is there for. He's up on the hill so he can spot those EL Gaming tanks when they're trying to get picks, when they're trying to gain map vision.
Black's taken a little bit of damage there, so... I mean, Black didn't actually seem like he went for the boost. He's just in a position where he could go for it.
Strange.
But now that Team Efficiency know he's there, I don't think he really has the option of going for it now. Safi's just spamming away, trying to get some free shots into Black, but Black's moved off already. Still, not too bad of a start here for Team Efficiency. I like the setup that they've got.
Yep.
EL Gaming are going to have a difficult time now of dislodging this defensive setup that Team Efficiency have built up.
Yep. No, definitely they will. So I'm liking this from Team Efficiency 100%. EL Gaming, like we heard, they like to gain map control and slowly circle around their opponents. Hear what Team Efficiency are doing. They're not letting them do that. And just like that, Fox TS in that TVP, he's trying to trade. Team Efficiency ready and waiting for him. That's why they put those tanks down the coast there, and they can trade very effectively with it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting though for Skell to get involved in this battle here with the M4043. We haven't seen much from him so far. There's been lots of spots going out onto EL Gaming, but as of yet, he hasn't managed to land a shot. And he could be the sort of the linchpin here for Team Efficiency. If he pulls off a big shot onto a bat chat or onto a TVP, that could be enough for Team Efficiency to pull off the first round here on him on Mines.
It certainly could be. So let's wait and see.
Imagine if he hits all 3 bat chats.
If he hits,
maybe I think he can only hit 2 with the splash. If he hits Sunmi and Guanren, one shots both of them, that would be the dream.
That would be the dream. Although in the tier 8, I'm not sure.
Look at how close they are.
Oh, that is the dream for the M40. But let's see. First off, they do need to get spotted before the M40 can shot.
Well, they're making their way forward. Dexter spots them out. Sunmi and Guanren. Now Black spotted as well. No shots yet from the M4043, but one comes across from Gamer in that Grill 15. Guanren takes 795 damage. Sunmi also tagged up a little bit, and they don't know that Bolognese is there in the bat chat as well. Now that they've spotted him out, they're going to be under a little bit more pressure here. Guanren, he's getting dropped very low. Shots going over his head. He does go down. Now Moore dropped very low himself, and he goes down as well. It's a trade, 1-for-1, but at the moment, Team Efficiency doing well. Although, in saying that, Sunmi takes down Bolognese, and now advantage to EL Gaming.
Yeah, there we go. EL have just taken down 2 members, but just like that, Gamer responds, taking down Sunmi. So both teams with 2 tanks down right now. Look at this, Bohan. He's starting to have a very hard time up here, but Nice. He's getting sniped.
Yeah, he's getting help from Safi there. So Nice goes down. Dexter, he's very low at the moment, but Team Efficiency is still hanging in this one. Are we going to see something from Skell, though? That's really the question that we need to answer, because something needs to swing this one back in the way of Efficiency. Yes, they're hanging on, but it is still very much in the favour of EL Gaming. Dexter goes down, and now it's a 4 versus 4. EL Gaming with the HP advantage.
There we go. A definite HP advantage there. It's going to get elongated by Gamer taking a few shots in that grill. As we see Bohan now, he's probably going to be in trouble soon because Quiet and Flag are pushing up towards him. And unfortunately, this is the point where I'm really worried for Team Efficiency. Unless they get maybe Black and Flag down soon, then it's going to be a big uphill battle for them.
There's a shot from the artillery. I think it might have just sort of done a little bit of damage to Flag, but not too much.
Yeah, that's the point where you really want a one-shot on towards Quiet.
Yeah.
Like can deal about 1,300 damage, and here we can see Gamer in that grill. Honestly, just you can feel the tension. He's being hunted by EL Gaming members, looking through the bushes to try and find them. Does not know when they're going to poke around the corner, and suddenly there they are.
Yeah, Gamer's done such a great job so far with the Grill 15, but he is going to go down. Black also finds Skell, and I think that's the nail in the coffin here that EL Gaming needed. Team Efficiency, only 2 tanks remaining, and they have to deal with 3. None of those tanks are a one-shot. Bohan and Safi, I just don't think they have enough here to be able to pull this off.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're on the defense, so in that regard, EL Gaming do have to come to them.
Still 4 minutes, plenty of time.
Yeah, unfortunately, none of EL Gaming's tanks are really one shot right now. If maybe Fox TS was on 400 HP or Flag in that WZ, then I would say potentially it could be doable. But at this point, it is just going to be super, super tough for Team Efficiency to come back from.
Yeah, definitely. When we look at the battle stats, I guess I'll elaborate on this a little bit more, but it just to me felt like Skell hasn't had that much of an impact with that artillery. You got to wonder what could he have done with any other tank.
Yeah. Oh, and just like that, Bohan is going to be going down. And unfortunately, Safi, I think, for that kill, he needed to pick up at least one in return, and not going to be able to do that. I mean, look, this wasn't easy for EL here on Mines.
No.
Not easy by any stretch.
It was hanging in the balance for a good part of that battle.
Yeah, 100%. But EL Gaming, again, I suppose they are going with their more mobile setup, and that's what they've been winning with throughout the season. That's what they are going to clean this one up with again.
Well, Safi might not even get the reload here by the time they spot him.
No,
not that it really matters.
That 25 TAP does have a very big reload, and it will be quiet going in first. So 2 minutes and 40 seconds, that is well and truly enough time for EL to hunt down the last remaining member of Team Efficiency, take him down just like that, and take out another game.
Well, EL 4-1 up now. Team Efficiency, they pick up a round, but then they lose a round here. Are they going to be able to bounce back from it?
That's tricky. That's very, very tricky. I think, it's possible. Like, they're on Mines. They did start that one off well, right? I really liked the counter boost that Team Efficiency did by, pushing that one member right up, getting some good early spots. I think all that they needed is just some arty shots.
Yeah, well, did they even need the arty necessarily? Could they have played that same strategy with, I don't know, a 1390, U251? Maybe would that have been a bit more effective?
Well, you see,
a T49 even?
I wouldn't have gone with any of those. I would have gone with 2 APs.
Right. What about a Scorpion?
A Scorpion?
That could have been something.
I mean, it could have been something. I suppose.
We've seen Efficiency do it before.
We have. On Mines, though?
No, not on Mines. On Rurenberg, usually.
Yeah, on Rurenberg. The Scorpion, look, it certainly could be possible. Effectively, that would fill the role of the grill there, though. So you'd have a Scorpion instead of the grill, and
then a Batchat. I don't know.
Could work.
Another 113 to give Bohan a bit of a hand up towards the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of, questions that you would have to ask. But overall, really, the answer is that EL Gaming won, and that's what matters.
Yep. There we go. So, just like that, let's take a look at this very early fight here between Team Efficiency and EL Gaming. And look, TE, they traded out really well at the start. They took down Guan Ren. Moore, in the meantime, was just getting dismantled. But the issue here, again, was that Skell, we didn't see any massive shots from him in that artillery piece. So, he was basically a non-factor. And look, Safi got some good shots, but then after he takes down Nice, he's got a bit of a trek until he can actually reload and then do something. So
yeah, Skell was on the reload here as well. That's so unfortunate. If he had have had a shot, maybe he could have got Fox TS, but look, that's just the way the cookie crumbled, I suppose.
Yep.
I think Black actually got himself stuck here, by the way. I'm pretty sure I saw him shaking his camera.
I think he did. There you go. Well, I might
Black is one of those guys on EL that does get himself in those kinds of situations. I mean, we've seen him flip his tank a few times.
We have actually.
Usually he actually manages to unflip it as well, but
I think that, I don't know, he could just say he was doing it for the crowd.
I think he was, because he knew they were going to win anyway.
Here we go. The showman there on EL Gaming, Mr. Black. But let's take a look at the post-battle stats there to see who had the most impact in that one. And we can see that on EL, that TVP, well, both of those TVPs really did work. And that's the issue, Jordan. When you leave those TVPs up for a lengthy amount of time, they just put out so much damage. It is completely insane. They can unload their entire clip in about 4.5 seconds. Yeah. Even less.
Not surprising to see Gamer up towards the top there. Like I said, he was doing a lot of work in that grill, really pulling his team through, and he felt like the one that was keeping them in that. Dexter and Safi also did a pretty good job. I think Dexter, in particular, from up on that, Safi from up on that boost was being a bit of a linchpin there, saving Bohan. But overall, just not quite enough coming out from Team Efficiency. And what I'm really interested to see, the second half of this battle stats page. Skell, 673 damage in the M4043. More 0 in the bat chat. That's really not great.
Yeah, I mean, more on Guan Ren. I suppose they traded it out a little bit, but you definitely would be looking to have at least one good shot in that M40. And, Team Efficiency, they haven't picked it. right? They haven't picked it much throughout this season. So whether it's a case of maybe just a little bit of bad luck there, I think there were a few times when they had spotted out some EL Gaming members. Maybe Skell was looking the wrong way with that M40.
Yeah.
Yeah, but either
Takes
way,
a little while to aim in.
Exactly.
It really does feel like at the moment Skell is playing a different kind of a role to what we normally see him. He's very, very often seen in the RU-251 being the aggressive scout.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the moment, he's... What? We haven't even seen him in an RU-251, I don't think. So... Yeah,
no,
little different from team efficiency. I guess you have. We kind of did say that they have to change things up here against EL because they couldn't play standard. They wouldn't win in a standard battle. But I don't know if this is the way that they necessarily should be going about it.
And that's the issue as well. EL, they're one of the best teams. Well, they are pretty much the best team in the APAC League at adapting to these sorts of play styles. If you throw something at EL, 99% of the time they're going to deal with it. And so when team efficiency are making these small little tweaks, I just don't think... Well, yeah, exactly. I don't think it's working, first off.
No.
And it's
Well,
certainly
clearly.
not phasing EL.
Yeah.
So, definitely an issue for them. We can see there. Team efficiency just warming up their hands a little bit. EL Gaming getting excited as they head in towards the next map here, which is going to be the next half of Mines. And we can see EL Gaming actually going with the T49 this time, Jordan, and the Grill 15 on their side.
That's... I think we've seen EL Gaming pick up the T49 fairly often. Not super often like Karen Tiger, which was kind of like a mainstay in their lineup, but it is something that EL likes to throw in there occasionally on Mines, Cliff.
Yep.
The Grill 15, definitely a good pick from EL Gaming. I suspect that's going to be Fox TS playing that one. He's a very good Grill 15 player, and, that's going to make life so difficult here for team efficiency. They don't really have a tank that can soak up a couple of 750 damage shots.
Yeah.
So... We'll see what team efficiency do with this lineup. It's looking like, again, it's going to be a hill push coming out from the attacking side.
I want to see a hill push, 100%.
But is that going to play into the hands of EL, who are going to have a Grill 15 sitting back, just firing in towards that hill? I don't know. We'll see. Looks like we are going to be heading into the game here. So it's almost a must-win now for team efficiency. Not quite, but they really are starting to hang on by the skin of their teeth. And does look like team efficiency have managed to gain control of that hill early on in the piece.
Yep,
But
there we go.
EL didn't really contest it by the looks of things.
No. So, EL Gaming, they're sitting very far back, which I suppose is what we expected them to do. That's why they've got that Grill 15, so they can just pop it back on that K5, K4 area and, use it to snipe. Of course, the Grill 15 is the most accurate tank in the game at a 0.26 meter per 100 meter dispersion value. But right now, team efficiency trying to use that hill control that they've managed to get to try and get a few shots on towards EL Gaming. No team landing a shot just yet, which I think probably plays into EL Gaming's hands a little bit more.
I wonder if we're going to see more here go for a boost. He's in a TVP. Usually we'll see a bat chat do it. I think a TVP can do it though.
Well, if I was in a TVP, I couldn't do it.
No, well.
I mean, I'm not sure if that says much.
I don't think you could do much in a TVP, to be honest.
Wow, rude. Oh. But looks like more there is going to be getting... Oh, looking down the line. So, yeah, he is spotted, unfortunately.
Yeah, he knows he's spotted, so...
I don't think we're going to be seeing a boost coming
Here comes Safi, though. Safi's coming right behind him and...
Spotted.
Yeah, he is spotted. So... Again, both of them look like they kind of wanted to go for the boost there, but this time neither of them deciding to go for it.
And I actually really like where Nice is sitting there. I think it's probably Black that's spotting those two, but it means that if they do fail the boost, then Nice can put a nice big shell in towards them in that T49. But right now, let's take a look at the rest of the map. So EL Gaming, they've got 3 tanks out on the 2 flag there on the coast, and they're going to be able to use those tanks to push around the back of team efficiency if they need to. So that's nice, although... I mean, I think team efficiency, it is going to be hard for them to get down the hill. Maybe if they actually go down on the right side and push on towards that 1 flag, they don't have to deal with as many as EL Gaming.
They're trying to boost. Safi's trying to boost. I think they need to get this boost. If they want to go for that 1 flag push, they need someone up on that boost to be able to sort of put a bit of another angle into it for EL Gaming, because if all of team efficiency is coming from the hill, EO's just going to be like, okay, fair enough, we'll take this brawl. But if they have something else to worry about, if they have someone up on that boost, then things might get a little bit sticky for EO Gaming.
Yep. And there we go. So, let's see, we have got this TVP here for Team Efficiency, just looking down towards where that T49 was last spotted. So Team Efficiency do generally know where Nice is, which is a good little bit of insight towards them. But Flag, they're dodging a few shots from Mr. Bohan. Can't dodge that next one.
No, Bohan has been spotted out here. A little unfortunate for Bohan to miss 2 shots there. Flag could be dead by now, but he's not.
Yeah.
Overall, still not a bad trade for Team Efficiency, but could have been better.
Certainly could have. And I mean, now the issue is that Bohan's reloading, and he's going to be reloading for a while. Flag still got his clip. Looks like Guanren and Dexter both on the reload again. So this is very much a slow, more of a defensive play here on mines for Team Efficiency than what we're used to. Because typically we'd be used to seeing both of these teams go for the hill, but EL Gaming going with a lot more of the defensive lineup with that grill and just playing far back.
Well, for now, it's worked out pretty well. I mean, they haven't taken too much damage. Almost half the time is ticked away, and Team Efficiency, I mean, they've gained control of the hill, but short of that, there's not much that Team Efficiency can use to work with here. We'll have to see what they decide to do. At the moment, Safi's gone over to join Bohan, so again, you know, Efficiency moving around the map, but they're not gaining any more control of different parts of the map.
Yeah, very, very tricky for Team Efficiency to try and take more of that map. And just like that, just as we say that though, Bohan in that bat chat is actually moving up the coast. And
Bolognese is in a good spot to back him up as well.
Bolognese as well, exactly, in that TVP. So if those couple of EL members down the coast, down on that H2 area where Team Efficiency were in that last half here on Mines, then we'll be seeing a bit of a 2-on-2, although last time, of course, Team EL Gaming, they pushed down there with a few more members, so I don't think Bohan's going to be able to one-man it.
No, definitely not. So they're just trying to figure out what EL Gaming is doing on the defense here, trying to figure out where EL Gaming has that defensive setup. Bohan getting spotted out, he sort of can get a bit of awareness, I suppose, of where EL Gaming is purely from being spotted. Look at Quiet here.
Oh, look at that. I love that. Quiet's just perched up there in the little bush, and just like that, he's going to be able to get a shot on towards Safi. He's spotted out, though. You know, it's... lucky.
Yeah, a little bit lucky, but he's okay. 4 minutes left on the clock here for Team Efficiency to work with. Still no one on the boost.
I think Team Efficiency are going to be going with that one flag push, judging from where their tanks are right now. So they've got to be very, very secretive about it. If EL Gaming learn, then they can just rotate their couple of tanks on the coast and they should be able to deal with it. But at the moment, EL definitely seem like they're slightly under-tanked around there.
Well,
so T are going to go.
This is the go signal for Team Efficiency. They're going to ride straight past that T49. So the T49 is going to have 3 shots into the back of all these Team Efficiency players. In fact, Nice actually gets focused down. 2 very early kills coming out for Team Efficiency. Great start for them, though they have lost a lot of HP, so they need to be aware of that. They don't want to drop tanks here. This is a great chance for them to be able to pull off a victory. EL Gaming have been left reeling after that initial push.
And what a Quiet and Guan were doing right there. They're coming all the way around the back. They didn't have to do that. They could have just taken out Bolognese and Bohan right on the top of the hill, but instead, now they've just split up from the rest of their team. And
Bohan needs to be so careful here. He's going to be caught off guard by Quiet. They didn't know that they're coming across. This is going to be a trade out. 2 tanks going down from Team Efficiency, and that's exactly what EL Gaming needed. They get themselves back in this game, and now Team Efficiency are the ones with the health deficit.
Yeah, just like that. And, you know, if Bohan and Bolognese had pushed down the hill and on towards the one flag where the rest of Team Efficiency were, then that would have worked out a lot better for them. But with only 2 minutes and 37 seconds left on the clock, TE now, they're going to be feeling the time pressure.
EL Gaming has control of that hill as well. That's going to allow easy resets onto the one flag. Team Efficiency know that they have to do something about that, and they're going to try and make their way forward. But Gamer, out there on his own in enemy territory, gets taken down, isolated by EL Gaming, something they're so good at. They find more as well, and slowly but surely, Team Efficiency dropping like flies. They haven't been able to respond. Quiet eventually will go down, but Team Efficiency, for me, have lost too much in that small passage of play. I don't think they'll be able to come back from that.
No, this is not looking good for team efficiency at all. They do actually manage to take down Flag, so it will be a 3v3 with 2 minutes left on the scoreboard, but in terms of health, they are not looking good at all. They need to get the kill on towards Fox TS. They need to take out that grill, because that grill can one-shot 2 of their tanks right now.
Yeah, and they've only got 1:45 to play with here, so efficiency really needs to be making quick moves. And when that comes into play, mistakes start to creep into the play as well. Safi goes down. It's Dexter and Skell now left alive for team efficiency, and they just won't have the damage to be able to take down these 3 remaining EL Gaming players.
Yeah, it's not looking like it. One of the unfortunate things about the Batchat AP is that it just does not get its damage out fast. It can deal a lot, but it takes time. It takes about 16 seconds or so to unload the whole clip. And time is not something that team efficiency have a lot of at the moment. With only 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock, they need to take out 3 EL Gaming members, one of whom is on full HP. And I don't think it's going to happen, Jordan.
Nope, I don't think so either. It was a good attempt from Team Efficiency, again getting very close here on Mines, and it just, again, showing that EL Gaming maybe do have some discomfort, I suppose, on this map, but overall they still have enough to take it to Team Efficiency on Mines. And unfortunate for Efficiency, that's where we thought maybe they were going to be able to find one, but unfortunately they get 2-0'd by EL Gaming. It's now 5-1 in the favour of EL, and they're looking strong.
There we go. So EL Gaming looking at super strong after that one, and unfortunately with team efficiency not being able to take out Mines there, that was the map where I was thinking, okay, you know, they're going to go with something really out there. They're going to go with some maybe Mouses, E100s, some crazy tanks that have thrown off EL Gaming in the past on Mines, but instead that was a lot more of a standard play from team efficiency. You know, they just rushed the hill, you know, tried to...
It worked out. It really looked like it worked out.
Yeah.
Then those 2 tanks go up through the hill.
The
mid-game.
Exactly.
The early game worked out. Well, I guess it wasn't early game because it was 6 minutes in. But the early fight worked out. And then sort of the second fight, you know, it went awry. They needed to join together as a team.
Yep.
And they just didn't do that.
Yeah, no, very, very tricky. But let's take a look here at what happened early on. So they were able to take out Black really, really fast. That was perfect play. Nice, and the T49 went down. Again, only Bolognese and Bohan had taken out a couple. But at this point, this is where, if Bohan and Bolognese were actually down there at the 1 flag, if they pushed with the rest of their team...
Well, if they had just gone into the hill and dropped off the cliff, they would have been fine.
Exactly. They basically did the worst possible move by going reverse.
You could say Efficiency made a mistake, but EL Gaming, they read that situation so well too.
Well, you see, I think it was more of a gamble there, EL Gaming, going up behind. I suppose they did read it, because that's what happened in the end. Team Efficiency just did leave those tanks up on the hill, but... yeah, there we go. So, TE, they've got to look forward now, because EL Gaming... I mean, look, they didn't dismantle them there on Mines. That was quite a close battle.
But it doesn't matter how close it is.
Well,
it's still 2 points over towards EL Gaming, and you can say, yeah, Team Efficiency, they had a good crack at it, but at a certain point, you need those rounds.
Yep.
And close enough is not good enough in this situation now for Team Efficiency.
Not at all, that's for sure. Oh, TE, they really do need to pick up some games very, very shortly. And, I mean, next up, I want to look forward. If I'm Team Efficiency, I'm thinking, okay, well, Mines didn't work, you know, but we're still in it. Let's take a look forward. But let's see some post-damage stats here on the lineups. We can see actually that Skell there in that Batchat AP, he did about 2k damage. But the rest of Team Efficiency, Jordan, where are they?
Yeah, Skell was one of the last players alive there as well, so he had a bit of extra time, I suppose, over his teammates. But good to see Fox TS for EL Gaming up there. He's always very consistent in that Grill 15, doing a lot of work, and of course backed up well by the Batchats on his team too.
Yep, there we go. So definitely some good numbers there for EL Gaming. They've got to be pretty happy with those. And unfortunately, Safi, Moore, Bohan and Gamer down 8 through 11. And that's not really what you want to be seeing. And Bolognese there just got obliterated in that TVP. Couldn't even survive for 5 seconds to get his clip off.
Yeah.
So, very, very disappointing. And that's the thing. I mean, when you take out the TVP early on, that is what you need to do. That's obviously what EL did there with Bolognese. They focus fired him down. And... I mean, it's a very squishy tank, the TVP. Doesn't have much health, has a much larger signature than any of the bat chats that we are used to seeing as well. So
Yeah.
can put out a lot of damage, but it's very easy to deal damage on towards it as well.
So overall, it's been a very good performance so far from EL Gaming. 5-1 up after the first 6 rounds. Kind of where we expected them to be sitting, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have loved to see Team Efficiency, take out some games there on Mines, maybe even a few earlier on, maybe half on Himmelsdorf.
Yep.
But unfortunately, for Team Efficiency, EL Gaming are looking very much like their usual selves today. They're not looking exceptional. They're not stepping it up a level from their normal play. They are just on fire like they normally are.
Yeah,
so
definitely. And with those 3 maps out of the way, we've hit the halfway mark in our series, although maybe not the halfway mark in this series because things are looking very good for EL Gaming. But we are going to hand it over to our analyst desk to break down the first 3 maps.
Thanks, Selfish Guy. Yeah, potentially halfway, but realistically, gentlemen, we're looking at a 5-1 after 6 rounds played. Madhouse, you predicted a 7-2 at the end of this. You're probably feeling pretty validated right now.
I think it's going to be a 7-2 a lot because, I mean, like I said, it's probably going to be a 1-1 on Cliff. That's their 2 victories, and EL take out the rest.
Well, they got a 1-1 on Ghost Town, which, interestingly, Ghost Town isn't necessarily Team Efficiency's most favourite of all of the maps that they could pick from, yet they still picked up a victory.
Yeah, I think it was mostly down to the lineup. Like, EL Gaming took an RU, and the RU was off to the side with another tank, and T just went in with a lot of autoloaders. Like, the 2 batch at APs doing, like, most of the damage, actually. So, I think it was really down to lineup versus lineup at that point, and the brawls were it was just more conducive to T winning.
Fair enough. Well, let's start at the beginning, right? Let's start at the start of the day. They went 2-0 on Himmelsdorf. Talk us through Himmelsdorf. What happened? They got smashed. The first game, there were people downstairs who were like, oh, what happened? Why is it over? It was done like 2 minutes 38 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Pretty much, there was one crucial mistake made, and that was Ball at the beginning. He was in a good position, but then, as you can see here, he moved up, and he just got obliterated. There was no need for him to move up. If he sat back, Black wouldn't have been able to do what he did in that game. I think he did 1,800 damage in that game. And if Ball was back there, he would have covering shots this whole time, down into the lower railway.
Yeah.
But he moved up and died unnecessarily. Even if he could move up, he should have moved up with Skell through that back alley, where he wouldn't have been just in the open getting destroyed for no reason.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of also overconfidence because they had a really, really good start, actually. It looked really good for them. EL Gaming got themselves into a really hard position there to get out of. And basically, I think T just thought, oh, we're going to win this right away. But the 183 is just too slow, and he's just driving through the open like he should have just stayed there, or maybe gone through the 3 line, that road to bypass with the other guys.
What about here with Team Efficiency, obviously, on attack? This game went for a little bit longer. We can see down to the 2.5 minute mark remaining here.
This game
they weren't able to pull it through.
I could tell you they were going to lose just from the lineup.
2 TDs on attack. It was ballsy, and
ballsy.
Yeah, it didn't work out for them.
Well, it didn't work out their positioning as well, right?
Why would they pick it? What was the goal there by picking those?
I'm
I don't know.
Not too sure.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Why they picked 2?
We'll have to ask them later.
Maybe breaking a choke point or something with HE.
Ghost Town was our second map, and well, they managed to go 1-1, as we said. Surprisingly, to be fair, but that's where that 1 point for Team Efficiency scoreboard came out. What about this round here?
This was mostly due to the heavies. As you can see, they're like out in the open here. They should not have been poking. They had flanks. Like T was actually in the middle of doing a flank around with their light tanks. And the heavies were just too close to the EL's E100s, and they were just engaging really, really close range, and they lost so much HP, and it was too late. By the time the flankers came, all the HP for Team Efficiency was just basically gone.
This is them on attack. This is the one round that they win. They made it 1-3 here.
Yeah.
You can see very, very early all these guys going down to very low HP here for EL Gaming. And
yeah, and we can see like Black is out of position. He's coming in right now, right? But it's a tank less, and T have an autoloader more. It makes a massive difference. And it's not like a tactical brawl here. This is just like 2 teams going at it.
Yeah.
Where like if you're 1 tank down, you lose basically,
It's just like when you go and play some other types of games and you just dump all the units together and let the AO fight each other, right? If you're down a couple, at the end you're actually down a lot.
Basically, yeah. So that's what it came down to. Like the strategies, they just ran into each other. Like they were just like head on. And then I think T just knew that the scout was going to be off somewhere. So just take advantage of it, and they have more auto-loader power.
And then here on to Mines was our final map in our first 3 that we saw. And well, that was a 2-0 as well. Mines was a map perhaps that we thought maybe Team Efficiency might be able to find something on, but it didn't work.
They actually did really well. Like as you can see over here, EL is pushing in, and Dexter and Bull are actually pretty good positions right now. They're not taking any damage. Gamer is there, right? And EL is just losing lots of HP right here. But there you have it. Maw crosses over because he feels like he has to save them. But instead, he just got obliterated without doing any damage. If Dexter and Bolognese had just stayed there and Maw hadn't crossed over, I think they would have won out on that trade actually overall. And they could have actually pushed the hill later on. But because he crossed over, it was like another tank down. And they actually ended up losing out on that little micro engagement.
How do you feel about that one, Madhouse? Same
yeah,
sort of
same thing. It was. I don't want to point target at someone, but I would say it was that game was cost down to more running out in the open when we really didn't need to.
Okay.
There was no point to doing it.
So I guess we've seen all these replays. There's lots of things to take away from it. Apart from the fact, of course, the EL Gaming is the more experienced team. These guys are playing World of Tanks day in, day out. It's a job, a pretty good job, I must admit. But for these guys, this is what they do. What have you guys seen so far that they're doing differently today that Team Efficiency is not doing?
Team Efficiency? Doing differently? Well, they've obviously studied what EL's doing, and they've actually tried to counter them a couple times. For example, the last game on Mines, right? They all pushed to the hill together. They were trying to catch EL, a couple of tanks from EL Gaming, out in the open. You could tell this because they all went up the hill, and then they were on the hill. And then, like, nothing happened because they were probably like, oh, we got the hill. What do we do now? Like, we're up here. Like, oh.
Haven't been in this position before.
I know,
right?
exactly.
Like, I've got the football.
Yeah.
What do I do now? I run, right?
I think they were really expecting for an engagement on the way up. They were like, oh, we're going to get 1 or 2 tanks. We're just going to rush them, right? But they got up the hill, and then they were like, oh, what? Okay. And then it looked like they had to actually formulate a different plan. And it just didn't work out because it was a bit sloppy. Like, it was a bit all over the place. They really didn't focus anywhere on the map. Like you saw, it just dragged on. And actually, EL started getting more map control as time went on, and they lost them in the end.
Yeah, well, we talk about how the guys from EL sometimes they'll play to a point, and when they get to that point, right, what's our next move? It feels like Team Efficiency got to a point, perhaps didn't expect to get there, and then at the end they weren't quite sure which way they wanted to play it. What's out of this so far, Madhouse? What have you seen that's surprising you, or perhaps not surprising you?
It was a bit surprising to see how many TD are actually picking, because from what I remember, they don't pick a lot of TDs, and they're picking them almost every game right now. Same with the artillery on Mines.
Yeah,
that was very unexpected.
More like the positioning of the arty for me was pretty, because you have an arty and a grill in that position. One of them is gonna get. I mean, if it's a long game, it didn't end up being a long game, but like EL is very known for blind fire in certain areas. So I was like, one of them is gonna get blind fired, like, because it's just there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, okay. When you've already got 2 there, almost guaranteed to hit one, I suppose. On Himmelsdorf, a quick 2-0. I suppose anything to take away from that from Team Efficiency?
Don't get too confident.
Yeah, too confident, and as well, like, plan B, They did really, like, the first game, I was like, wow, this is a good start. And then it was just like, okay, let's push in,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was kind of, it lacked the plan, kind of thing. Their plan was a bit all over the place, and EL was just like, okay, let's hold here, let's go around. EL actually just waited for them. EL, like, they got stopped, but then EL didn't even have to push because T pushed into them, and then EL just, like, they kind of fed themselves to EL Gaming.
They just one by one came through and got picked off.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
Madhouse, is there anything here that the guys from Team Efficiency can do to bring this one back? We're moving in to Muravanka, right? That's our next map, something we haven't seen Team Efficiency play all season. They ban it out, they don't play it. It's here today. Are we going to see something?
It quite possibly could be a 2-0 because Elong have no idea. They have no idea what they're going to do. I mean, they could have an idea based off their tanks and, what TE play like, but that's about it. They have no idea what they've done in previous. maybe like last year or something, they could have looked at a strat if they played it. But they can't look at it this year, and it's a whole different team now.
And exactly, team efficiency, whilst the name's been around for a long time, the team as it stands right now isn't even necessarily the same team that we saw playing across the full season. They've had a couple of changes. We heard there were passport issues and things like that. So if your team like EL Gaming, really, how do you can't plan for this? You just have to plan for yourself, perhaps.
Yeah. And also, I think like the best bet for TA is doing what they did in the Ghost Town game, really, and like they just went in, right? And then when it comes to that, there's less strategy, less overall roundabout strategy, which is EL is really good at, and more just like focus fire. So I feel like if they want to take Mirovanka, they're really maybe just going to have to ham it in and hope for the best.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to find out. The guys from EL Gaming, our number 1 seed, they are 5-1 up here, heading into map number 4. Potential here for them to close out this entire series and guarantee themselves in this afternoon's grand final. Team efficiency, they have a lot of work to do. We have not seen them on this map coming up all season long. Perhaps they're going to pull something out of the hat. They're going to need more than that, I suspect. But let's head back over to our casters. It's Jordan and Alex.
Thank you, Ben. And yes, we're back. EL Gaming going to be coming out here on Mirovanka. They have not lost a single round on Mirovanka throughout the season.
Neither of Team Efficiency, Jordan.
We did see Team Efficiency play it once against Karen Tiger in the playoff. They did win both times. In saying that, Karen Tiger are not known for their Mirovanka play.
Well, that's true.
EL is.
Yeah. Look, EL definitely a very strong team on Mirovanka. And I actually think here that this could be an opportunity for Team Efficiency to take it out, because if you're EL Gaming, right, you've studied everyone else. You know, you have probably looked at replays for however many hours a day, checking out where, you know, the team that you're playing goes on every single map.
Right.
They can't really do that for Team Efficiency, because up until the playoffs, T had never played this map. So I think that is a big advantage in that it kind of negates a lot of EL's preparation, that they can only base any counter strats on 2 games. One map, essentially. So I do like that for Team Efficiency, but obviously EL Gaming, like you said, they're good on Mirovanka.
They're very good on Mirovanka. Probably the best team in the league on Mirovanka.
Yeah.
Team Efficiency, I mean... Yeah, look, again, it's the same situation. I guess when I spoke about them on Mirovanka when they were going to face Karen Tiger on this map, I said I don't think that they have a chance because we haven't seen anything from them. They obviously don't like the map. Vetoing it 16 times, that's pretty much every game they've played.
Yep.
So, look, I'm not so much of a fan of Team Efficiency picking Mirovanka here. Even though they had a reasonable result against Karen Tiger, I don't think that they can sort of bank on that going up against EL Gaming here. And yes, EL Gaming aren't going to have much to counter-strat, but in saying that, I don't think Team Efficiency have anything too crazy to come out here on Mirovanka either. I feel like they just sort of play it like everyone else. You know, they don't know it that well, so they play very, very standard. Their defensive setups are pretty normal. I think EL Gaming is not going to have really any trouble 2-0ing this one.
Yep. Well, you're going to say 2-0 to EL Gaming. I'm going to go a little bit of a different way and say that Team Efficiency... I can't call it 2-0 for Team Efficiency. It's not going to happen, but 1-1, let's do it.
Let us do it indeed. T110E5 is coming out here from Team Efficiency.
On the attack, okay. Well, look, you know me and T110E5,
I know you,
Jordan.
T110E5s.
I'm not a big fan. They have not a fantastic win rate at all, hovering around about the 43% mark last time I checked. But I do like that T57 here on Mirovanka. It's a lot like the T110E5. Great hold down, but you know, you can definitely make it work with that turret as well. And obviously an auto-loader, that T57 Heavy can put out so much damage.
Yep.
EL Gaming, go with a bit more of a standard lineup. They've got their eyes full for a bit of bulk, lots of mobility with the rest of their tanks. So they're going to be doing what EL Gaming is known for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's winning on Mirovanka, I think. Anyway, heading on to Mirovanka. You've said 1-1. I've said 2-0. Regardless, it's going to be a crucial one coming out here for Team Efficiency. They need rounds on the board. They can't allow EL Gaming to really get anything more. And so, you know, we almost have to see a 2-0 come out from Team Efficiency here. But I think that might be wishful thinking at this point. Let's have a look and see how it's going to turn out.
Yep, there we go. And Here we are, Team Efficiency just rolling out on the attack. That looks like they're sending Skell down through the forest to get a bit of early scouting done. And EL Gaming, they're not actually going too aggressive. This looks to be quite a standard defensive setup from them that's coming out, which is, I mean, a little bit interesting because they don't really have tanks that will trade particularly well, apart from the IS-4 and maybe the STB-1. But yeah, EL Gaming not going too aggressive early on, and I don't know, I think that plays into Team Efficiency's hands.
Well, I mean, I don't think EL Gaming necessarily wants to actually go too aggressive here. They know, or they don't, well, they know that they don't know, if you get what I mean, what Team Efficiency is doing. They don't have any information at the moment. The only thing that they know is that Skell is over in the Magic Forest at this point. So, at this point, I would say EL Gaming just waiting to see if they can get a bit more information on Team Efficiency. They will eventually pull the trigger, but it's only a matter of time until when they have enough information, when they have enough of a HP advantage. That's when EL Gaming are going to be able to get that mobility rolling with those bat chats, with the SCB, the TVP, and potentially take it to Team Efficiency here on Muravanka.
Yeah, there we go. So right now, Gamer in that T1 10E5 is going to be moving up, trying to get a few shots on towards EL. I think that just hit the track of Flag. But I like this here from Team Efficiency. They've got their T1 10E5s exactly where they want them. So from this location, it's going to be so hard for EL Gaming to get through that super strong turret armor, over 200 mils on those T1 10E5s. And this is what they're designed for.
Yeah. It's very good that Team Efficiency have managed to actually get their T1 10E5s into this position without taking too much damage. So that's a good start from Team Efficiency. They've achieved essentially what they set out to do to start things off, but now they need to execute. And Bolognese is just taking so much damage here. This is probably what I would have expected to happen to one of those T1 10E5s, but overall, I mean, EL Gaming is going to be pretty happy with that. Dropping a bat chat to 392 HP. He's a one-shot, and now we're going to have to see some sort of a fight back coming out from Team Efficiency.
Yeah, and they're making a bit of a move, EL Gaming. Team Efficiency have to be careful that they don't get caught out. I am liking Team Efficiency's positioning, though. They are generally staying together, so EL can't really surprise any single one of them, I guess, apart from maybe Skell in that AMX. But they are heading in towards the Magic Forest. At least Nice is here, as we can see. But Team Efficiency, they're getting pretty aggressive as well and pushing up on the Fox TS there.
Yeah, Fox TS is going to go down. A TVP out of the picture. EL Gaming have lost the first tank. And now we'll see whether or not Team Efficiency is going to be able to continue this ball rolling along. If EL Gaming actually still have that HP advantage despite being a tank down, and it's starting to grow.
It is starting to grow, and I think EL Gaming, they're going to be looking to extend it. Team Efficiency, they have taken the first tank off the field, which is nice, and damaged Quiet's gun, but looks like he's just repaired that one right up, and suddenly Team Efficiency, their members are almost one shot.
I think Dexter might be able to pick up this kill here. No, he won't. Flag's going to take him down. Nice finding Skell as well, and across the board you see a couple or even a few Team Efficiency players dropping there without much of a response. Bohan in the T1 10E5 does take down the IS-4 of EL Gaming, and another response from Team Efficiency as Safi finds another kill. We're back to a 4 versus 4, although Safi on 20 HP. We'll have to see what he can do. He surely has to get out of this fight, get a reload across, disengage and come in from behind, get a couple of shots off before EL Gaming can take him down. Maybe he can turn the tide of this battle, but definitely at the moment, it's still hanging in the balance.
Yeah, definitely right here as Team Efficiency. They will want to take down Nice, Guan, Ren as well if they can. And look, the good thing for them is that they have still got these T1 10E5s and the T57 Heavy. So if I was picking 3 tier 10s that I'd want to stay alive at, the 5.5 minute mark, I would pick those ones. Unfortunately, Moore does have a damaged ammo rack, and that's never really what you're looking for because it's going to make it a lot harder for him to actually output damage in that one. But the other issue for Team Efficiency, I suppose, because they have these heavies, is that they do need to push on towards a flag sometime if EL Gaming don't just show themselves. And pushing onto a flag in heavies, I mean, obviously the one flag is open to them, so they could go for it, but then EL Gaming has a lot of avenues of attack there, very open.
Moore is spotted out here as well by EL Gaming. You haven't spotted out, or Team Efficiency rather hasn't spotted out any of those EL Gaming tanks. And EL just really restricting the mobility here from Team Efficiency. Like you said, in those heavies, they can't take a mobility fight. They have to force a fight somewhere. and really their only option is towards this one flag. So now they've decided to put more on that flag. We have to see how EL Gaming responds, but I feel like all the cards really are lying in EL's hands. They're the ones that are going to be able to force the battle when they want it, and they're going to have the advantage because of that mobility, those bat chats they can get around behind when they need to. Team Efficiency, not in a great spot here.
No, not a great spot at all. More, he's not actually going to be getting the cap. He was just pushing up a little bit, but unfortunately Guan Ren is on the side, so if Guan Ren pops up and spots out more, then that could be a bit of an issue for him.
EL Gaming know where 3 out of 4 of those Team Efficiency tanks are.
Yeah.
More Gamer and Bohan all have been spotted pushing through that flag. Safi's the only one that remains unseen at the moment, but gee, I don't know about this one for Team Efficiency. They're trying to push forward and trying to force a fight. Moore's trying to get something done, but EL Gaming are playing it like they should. They're just playing super defensively, super passively, falling back, and now Sunmi, he takes the opportunity to get a couple of free kills or free shots into Bohan, and eventually it should be a free kill here as well. Guan Ren takes a shot, but overall a very favourable trade there from EL Gaming. You can tell how well they know this map.
Yeah, this is not going to work out here for Team Efficiency. EL just playing it too well there on the defense, knowing that they don't have to push in towards Team Efficiency, just holding those hills. They know that with only those heavy tanks and, well, Safi on 20 HP left, that they can probably get the spots first. That means they can get the shots first and clean up Team Efficiency.
Well, 70 seconds left on that cap timer, but I dare say that's not going to be a factor really for EL Gaming. They will be very easily able to get the reset when they need it. Nice coming around from behind.
Moore's not going to get a reload. He has just repaired his ammo rack, but I think it's too little too late there.
Gamer trying to get some damage into Sunmi. In the end, Moore is going to go down before the reload comes across, like you said. Gamer and Safi finding themselves alone up against 3 of those EL Gaming tanks. 40 seconds left on that cap timer. EL Gaming, they know that they have plenty of time to work with here. They don't want to make a mistake, so they're playing slowly. And surely they are going to pick up the victory. Gamer takes a shot in the back, and another one. Sunmi closes out the kill, and Safi's been spotted out. Sunmi, nice shot onto Safi as well. That's another one on the board there for EL Gaming. So, 6-1 up now. They're on to match point.
Match point. And look, being match point down, Team Efficiency now have nothing to lose. They've got to bring out everything in this next one if they want to stay in it. But I'm just worried, Jordan, that everything might not be enough.
Yeah, no, I don't think that Team Efficiency is going to be able to pick up around here. I mean, like I said, I thought it was going to be a 2-0. EL still have yet to lose a round on Muravanka. And heading over to the second half here, Team Efficiency have just lost their first round on Muravanka in quite convincing fashion, it has to be said.
Yes, very convincing fashion. And look, Muravanka, obviously, that is the map that Team Efficiency, they've only played twice throughout the season. They did win it when they played it against Karen Tiger in the playoffs, and I thought they looked confident, but obviously EL Gaming,
EL's a different beast.
They're a different beast. They're at a different tier on Muravanka to Team Efficiency. And look, we can see there, I didn't really mind the start from Team Efficiency.
It did start off quite nicely. I mean, EL were in a bit of a hole, but then all of a sudden you saw, again, it's a very similar situation to what we've seen so many times throughout this series. EL Gaming, they always manage to come back. They always manage to get those trades, no matter how delayed they are. Eventually, EL picks up the kills, starts to get the HP advantage, and eventually, somehow, they come back into it.
Yeah, there we go. So, Team Efficiency just got dismantled after the start of that one, unfortunately, by EL Gaming. And, I mean, EL, positionally, they did some interesting stuff by, getting up in towards that Magic Forest with, I think it was Nice in the Amex 1390, getting a few spots on towards the sides of Team Efficiency. And really, they didn't let Team Efficiency do what they wanted to do by... They didn't trade with the T110E5s when they were on the hill. And it's like when EL Gaming, they knew not to do that. They knew not to try and poke the T110E5s when they were in those hold down positions. So they didn't. And so the T110E5s just turned into what I dislike it for, and just a generic heavy tank which doesn't deal that much damage.
Well, a bit of a struggle for Team Efficiency on the first half of Muravanka there. We'll be heading on to the second one shortly, but what do you think? Do you think they picked T110E5s again? I mean, it didn't feel like they were particularly effective.
Well, I don't want to see T110E5s again here for Team Efficiency. I would much rather see something like, the T57 I did like, but go 113s, go some ISs. Team Efficiency know how to play the IS4, maybe even one IS7, if you want something a bit heavy that can trade really well. And I don't think this is the worst map for something like a Scorpion maybe as well, just to throw in a curveball. But there we can see on the post-battle stats, Safi was actually on top in his bat chat with 2.7 thousand damage there. Gamer as well on the T110E5. He managed to deal a little bit, so he stayed in there, but the rest is all EL Gaming.
Yeah, I think that tells us half the story. We'll see how the second half of this battle stats looks, but definitely from that, it's looking very nice for EL Gaming. More down there, the T57 Heavy, only 400 damage. That's really not ideal for him.
Yeah, that's rough. That's really rough. And honestly, instead of those T110E5s, I know these teams, they won't pick it. They've told me already because I've tried to convince them. But I would love to see a T110E4.
Yeah.
Because it's like the T110E5, but when you do get that poke, that trade, you deal 750 damage instead of 400. It's the same sort of thing.
I'm sure if it was as easy as you make it out to be, they would definitely be picking it.
It is, I swear. Trust me, I'm really good at tanks.
Oh, yeah? Why aren't you playing in the Gold League then? Why aren't you on EL Gaming?
Well, I don't know. I reckon I could sub out for Saf sometimes. Safi.
You reckon?
Yeah. We've seen a few fails from him throughout the season,
well,
I think.
I don't know if you'd last very long here in Team
Probably
Efficiency
not.
or any other WGL team.
No.
But overall, might be Team Efficiency not lasting much longer here because they've got one chance, or potentially more than one chance if they win this one, but really, they don't have any options. They have to win this. And EL Gaming have decided to go for an Object 261, an M4043, and a couple of T110E5s. So a bit of a curveball coming out from EL.
Yeah, a little bit of a curveball. That Object 261 actually is quite a big curveball, I would say, because and the M40. I'm actually really confused as why they're going with those two. The Artie, surely Team Efficiency rushed them here, surely.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 3 bat chats in a TVP as well as a 1390. There is potential for a rush, but I wonder if that would be playing into the hands of EL Gaming. Maybe they're going to set up for that.
But if Team Efficiency just let EL Gaming here sit back and get those long-range shots with the Object 261 and the M40, then they're just going to get torn apart, because a T110E5, it's all very well and good when people are shooting directly at the turret, but when you've got, some Artie that can deal however much damage on the other side of the map that can just hit wherever on your tank, that's not going to work.
Well, let's go ahead and have a look and see how this will turn out. EL Gaming 1 round away from picking up the first semi-final and making their way through to the final of the Season 1 WGL APAC. Team Efficiency standing in their way at the moment, but not for long, one would think.
Well, and look at this. They're putting both of their Artie right at the same spot. Oh, my God. This is like a counter-Artie dream right here if you're around a battle. Just, in a T92 or something, put a shell right in the middle of them. See you later. But Team Efficiency right now, we can see that they have got a bit of a standard defensive hold on that H3 area there. Gamer and Bohan are going to be sitting down there.
You say it's standard, but they're actually pushing the forest.
Well, yeah, standard with those tanks, but then there's tanks on the forest, exactly, that are going quite aggressive and pushing up, and that's what I love to see. Because they're trying to take the fight to EL Gaming.
Yep.
And EL doing a bit of blind firing. You don't want to be hit by an Object 261 shell.
No. Well, you don't want to be hit by an M4043 either.
No, exactly. Of course, the Object 261, one of the reasons why it does, why maybe EL thinks it works on Muravanka here is because it does have that very narrow line of fire, or cone of fire, but it's very accurate. So when these IS4 and the T110E5 are sitting up here on the hill, if that Object 261 gets a zero in on them, it's going to be able to hit them.
Yeah, definitely. At the moment, for Team Efficiency, Skell is going to be super important because you can see him. He's starting to scout very aggressively up towards the northern part of the map. Eventually, will run into black if he continues on his trajectory over towards the sort of A1 area. But he's going to get so much information. I mean, to be fair, Team Efficiency probably have a reasonable idea of where those artillery are going to be sitting.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to get that confirmation.
Well, look, team efficiency, they've got some good spots at the moment. I think they've got a line of sight so no one can pass F1. So they basically know where EL Gaming are at the moment, and I don't think that's great for EL. So right now, team efficiency are going to be pushing up. They should be free to push up as long as Bohan doesn't get hit by a big arty shot. And I think if Safi, Dexter and Bolognese push towards the side of EL with a coordinated Bohan and Gamer push, then, I mean, that could work out for them.
Yeah, Bohan's taking a little bit of damage. He's being spammed out there. 414. I mean, yeah, Artie is missing, but he's already taken a reasonable amount of damage to start things off here. Not great for team efficiency. It's not the end of the world at this point, but like I said before, I mean, this is the sort of thing that EL Gaming sometimes does. They just slowly but surely take those advantages, and you can see that starting to come to the fore here. Nice getting on that flag, putting a bit of pressure on that way. Bohan's already taken a bit of damage. There's a bit of pressure there.
Fox TS is off reload.
You're right, he has been spotted. Let's see whether or not the artillery shell is going to come in his direction. Doesn't seem like it for the moment. There we go, it gets fired, but that one hasn't managed to connect. So Bohan lives to breathe. What? Lives another day? Lives to fight another day.
Yep, lives to fight another day.
Got there in the
end. Exactly. But 90 seconds on towards the cap. Look, I think team efficiency, they should just go up towards that A line and push in now because there's only Black defending out those two Artie. Flag and Nice.
Here
I don't
another
think.
one.
Oh, no, that's missed.
That's missed by miles. I always get so excited when an artillery's on the field.
Yeah. Look, if team efficiency can get up, can push with their fast tanks, their bat chats, their TVP, their AMX, in towards that location where they, will know where the Artie is by now because Skell's pushed that far up. If they manage to take down that Artie, then that's two tanks essentially for free. It's not like an Object 261 or an M40 is going to be able to, turn to the side and zoom in time.
Well, at the moment, team efficiency don't seem too keen on pushing in. They have 40 seconds to work with, really. Eventually, they are going to have to make their move, and at the moment, they're just not.
I want to see the move, Jordan. I'm not liking this from team efficiency. They are leaving this way too long. 30 seconds on the cap, and it looks like they are going to be pushing in, or at least grouping up to push in pretty soon. Gamer has been spotted, and I just hope for his sake that he doesn't get a couple of Artie shells to his face in 17 seconds. They are cutting it close.
Bohan should be able to get a reset here in the T125. In fact, he's actually just going to force Nice off the cap there. But overall, not too bad of a play there from
couple
EL
more
Gaming.
Artie shots missing.
Yeah, but they forced Team Efficiency out of position now. Efficiency had to rotate in towards that one flag. This is where EL Gaming are again getting another slight advantage. But as of yet, you're right. We still haven't seen that artillery working out too well for EL.
Yeah. It would be really funny if Team Efficiency just went up over the hill and face-hugged Nice and Flag so that the Artie couldn't shoot them. That'd be brilliant. But right now, TE, they're kind of grouping up. Skell and Safi, well, Skell's been spotted at least, and they are ready to push over the hill. But I mean, if they push over now, then everyone from EL Gaming can still shoot them.
So the longer this battle goes, the less effective those artillery are going to be, unless they start hitting shots.
Exactly, unless they start hitting.
Sooner or later, EL Gaming is going to have to make a move, and essentially, if they try to force a fight, they'll go in 5 versus 7. But for now, seems like Team Efficiency are the ones making the moves.
He doesn't have
Nice
a repair kit.
has been spotted, and he gets absolutely wrecked.
There we go. Great start from Team Efficiency, just obliterating one of EL Gaming. And that's all they need to do. EL taking some more shots and definitely not looking like they have control right here. Sunny and Black, they're going to be making a bit of a push, but Team Efficiency, it looks like they're dictating the flow here, and I'm still not seeing any impact from those Arties.
No, not at all just yet. Have a look at see what happens here. 1 second left on the reload. Is the shot going to come in on the T125? It does, but it's really not the kind of shot that you need coming out from your Tier 10 artillery. The Object 261 not getting the damage across there, and in the end, Flag should be going down to kind of the wolf pack of Safi, Gamer, and Bohan. Team Efficiency find another tank. There goes one from Team Efficiency, but overall, a favourable trade, 2 for 1 so far. And look at the HP difference.
Yeah, and look at this. EL Gaming, they only have 3 more normal tanks on the field. Those 2 Artie, there's an Artie shot.
But it feels like it's too little too late at this point. Team Efficiency, even though they lose Gamer here, they still have a very big HP advantage. They should be able to close this one out from here, considering they're essentially up against 2 bat chats.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Skell's doing here. The rest of his team hasn't reloaded yet. Bolognese and Dexter coming in.
He's eaten up so many shells coming out from those bat chats that now Black is going to be almost on the reload. Sunmi also almost on the reload. And unless we see some magical shots coming out here from Fox TS and Guan Ren, this is going to be all said and done.
There we go.
Or putting some shots into Fox TS does take him down. It's just Guan Ren here, and there's nothing that he can do in that artillery piece.
There we have it. Team Efficiency will be able to take out EL Gaming here on the second half of Muravanka. They stay in it for one more game, Jordan. They're looking happy over on the stage there. And, well, there's still hope.
Oh, well.
There's still hope.
You say there's hope, but I don't think there is. I call the 7-2, EL to win the next round.
I mean, look, when we think about what happened there for EL, I really don't think that double RD strat is something that they'll be looking to move forward with at all, because it doesn't really make sense.
No.
And just involves so much RNG, which EL Gaming don't need to win.
It would have been it would have been crazy to see it work out there. It would have been fantastic. We would have seen some very exciting shots coming out.
Absolutely.
But, the roll of the dice doesn't go the way of EL Gaming for that one. So Team Efficiency pick up the win.
Yep.
Put themselves on 2 rounds. Although in saying that, EL Gaming still on 6 match points still. They've got, 4 more match points before we get to a tiebreaker, so it's going to have to be a mammoth effort for EL Gaming to bring this one back.
For Team Efficiency.
For Team Efficiency,
exactly.
sorry. Yeah.
Very, very tricky for them to try and bring it back, particularly on Cliff, which is our next map. And, they have looked really confident on. But, just thinking back a little bit there to Muravanka, I really, really liked how Team Efficiency played that one. I thought early on they maybe weren't being too aggressive, but at the end of the day, they just didn't let those Artie have the shots that they needed to have.
Yeah.
And when an Object 261 misses a shot, or even when it does 500 damage in a shot, right? It has a reload the same as a FV4005. It's got an over 20-second reload, so that just doesn't cut the mustard.
Nope. It clearly didn't cut the mustard, really, for EL Gaming there. We'll have a look at the replays here, but I'm sure you're going to see a very distinct lack of artillery shots coming out.
Yep.
And that was the problem for EL Gaming. When you invest 2 tanks, 1 tier 10 as well, into just artillery, you got to say they really didn't do anything.
And actually, there was almost a little bit of, maybe personal error. He might have still died anyway from Nice there, but as soon as he got ammo racked, he actually repaired the ammo rack pretty much instantly. And then right after that, he got tracked. And I'm not sure whether if he just saved it for the track, he still would have died. Obviously, the T125 not a very fast tank anyway, but just maybe a little bit quick on the trigger with that repair kit. As we see right now, Black and Sunmi, there just wasn't enough that they could do. They needed another bat chat and another AMX 1390 there, where
they could have had that.
Exactly, where what they actually had was an Object 261 and an M40. So, and we've seen the Object 261 picked by Dark Wolves, I think, here on Muravanka once in the season previously, and I don't really think it worked out particularly well there.
No, it didn't work
either.
out.
It wasn't, mind-blowing. So, I prefer the Conqueror gun carriage if you're going to go for a tier 10 RD piece, just because, it is the epitome of a dice roll. If you hit, you are going to inflict massive damage. But it's a lot more versatile as well in the way that you can actually zoom in anywhere without having to move your tank around and lose all your accuracy. So, but anyways, that's not what EL did there, and I don't think that's what EL are going to do in the rest of this series, because we've got Cliff up next.
Yeah, Cliff, I definitely don't expect to be seeing any artillery. Maybe on Prokhorovka if we get there, but that would involve a 2-0 from Team Efficiency here on Cliff. And yes, they're a good Cliff team, but in saying that, EL Gaming is a very good Cliff team as well. And we know how strong EL Gaming are in sort of those bat chat versus bat chat fights.
Yeah, they just coordinate so much.
They always seem to have someone or something that allows them to just get a little bit more damage out, land the more shots, focus down a little better, and generally they find the win in that sort of a situation.
Yeah, exactly. And let's take a look at the post-battle stats there. That Object 261, look, it did deal 1807 damage there for Mr. Fox TS, but not quite what you'd be hoping for. I mean, it needed to deal that, front right up. It needed to, blow up one of Team Efficiency's bat chats or something like that.
Yeah.
Very, very early on to actually, justify its use in the game. And Fox TS actually, he's dealt quite a lot of damage from afar this season, Jordan, because we've been keeping stats, of course, for our APAC MVP program, where we find the top 5 players in all the different categories.
Yep.
And, Fox TS definitely up there for the sniper MVP,
sure.
tank sniper.
Sure, there's plenty of EL Gaming players up towards the top there. We know that they've been such a prolific team in APAC here. The M4043 of Guan Ren, I mean, it did 800 damage, which, to be fair, is not so bad in M4043, but just a bit too little too late.
Well, you say that's not so bad. I would have liked to see that, one-shotting something.
Yeah, you would, obviously. But for a Tier 8 tank, I guess
Yeah.
800 is kind of excusable.
Yep. But that's the other thing with the artillery pieces. Because EL had those 2 arties, Team Efficiency were just so confident with the push in at the end on towards those 2 batchets, Maybe they would have played differently if there was another 2 actual tanks on the field rather than SPGs. And look, I'll be the first one to say I love seeing SPGs.
Yeah.
I love seeing artillery pieces picked. But when you go 2 on Moravanka, I mean, I'm not sure whether that was one of EL's best strategies or whether they're just like, I want to pick an object 261 here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't really seen that coming out from them. We've seen sort of a double grill strategy during the league. And they actually won with that. It was on steps.
Yeah.
But never have we seen a double artillery, I don't think, from any team.
No, not at all. And, I mean, if there is any team that can make it work, it's probably going to be EL Gaming. Unfortunately, that was not the case there. And I think the other issue that game for them was that by picking the 2 arty, they had to always have, I think it was Black defending them.
Yeah.
So in that regard,
they were 3 tanks down.
Yeah, well, exactly. They were 3 tanks down, and they didn't have any map control. They essentially, right from the get-go, let Team Efficiency know, okay, guys, we're always going to be in the corner.
What do we have here?
Well, what do we have here? I think we've got some bat chats, Jordan.
Really?
Yeah, really. Here on Cliff.
Who would have
thunk it? Exactly. Cliff, known for, being able to pick... Yeah, known for bat chats.
It's a bit of a batty map.
Yep.
RU251 coming out for EL. I would say that's going to be nice taking that one away. We've seen him have some very good performances on Cliff in particular in the RU251 throughout the late stages of the APAC season. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him picking that one up again. But of course, bat chats across the board really for both the teams. That's what it's going to come down to. And generally speaking, EL Gaming have some of the best bat chat players in the region. So going into this one with a bit of an advantage, I would say. And it is indeed going to be nice in the RU251. Bohan already has taken some damage. I think that was from Nice. Just holding in that sort of a town. Watching the cross. He's spotted out so many of those Team Efficiency players as well. EL Gaming look like they just want to take the fight here. Fox TS leading the charge. Nice, though, takes a bit of damage, and now we start to see EL having a bit of trouble. Flag is getting dropped, but in the end, Bohan will be the first one to go down. Dexter trades out Flag. It's Nice getting dropped now as well, but Dexter goes down too. Overall, a very good trade so far for EL Gaming. Guan Ren finding more. And really, you have to say EL Gaming, in true EL Gaming fashion, have just charged right in there and completely decimated the offensive Team Efficiency.
This is why EL Gaming are feared.
Safi.
Oh, no,
He's
Safi.
okay.
Almost flipping over there, and I think that's just about enough to end it for Team Efficiency here on Cliff. EL Gaming showing, well, exactly why they're feared on this map, Jordan.
Yeah, definitely. At this point on, I mean, really, what can Team Efficiency do? They've got almost no map control. They're completely surrounded by EL players who, luckily for them, a couple of them are on reload. Black is really not doing a whole lot at the moment, but once EL Gaming gets off these reloads, Safi, Gamer, and Skell don't have much longer left for this life. Black does come off the reload, and now we are going to start to see the pain inflicted on Team Efficiency.
Yeah, there we go. They were doing ring around the rosy a little bit there, but it's looking like EL Gaming, they've had enough of that. So they're going to be able to take out the remaining 2 from Team Efficiency. And look, that's how we're used to seeing Cliff played there by EL Gaming.
That is going to be that.
And
EL Gaming cleaning it up. 7-2. Very convincing fashion coming out from them. And, well, they look pretty pleased with themselves, but I think at this point it's business as usual for them.
Yes, absolutely. Business as usual. You can see how cool they are. They're going over. Give a bit of a handshake there to Team Efficiency. Great to see. But Team Efficiency, look, they had it hard, Jordan. They had it tough facing the number 1 seed, the unbeaten team in the competition.
Still
And
unbeaten.
Still unbeaten, but they gave it a good crack.
Yeah, look, Team Efficiency coming into this one, I think they had very realistic expectations. They knew up against EL Gaming that they were going to be facing sort of a David and Goliath battle, so to speak. And obviously, in this case, it's gone to David, or to Goliath rather, and not David.
Yeah.
Like the story. But look, not too surprising really there for EL Gaming. I think going into the finals, again, we're probably picking them as our favourite. So not too surprising to see them pick up a very easy victory in the end, actually, over Team Efficiency.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I think, who was it on the analyst desk that called this? It might have been
I called it.
Well, okay.
It was
You
Madhouse
called
that called 7-2, I think. He
Madhouse.
said 7-2 or 7-3.
Yes.
I think, well, Ben's wrong, that's for sure, which is not unusual.
I'm wrong, which is probably
also not unusual.
Also not unusual, unfortunately.
Yeah, but
oh well.
Yeah, look, just to I guess touch on Cliff a little bit there before we head too far into things. Overall, again, very expected. EL Gaming, we know they have very strong back chat players. We know they have such strong focus fire. We know they have such strong brawling. Really lends itself to a very strong team on Cliff. And the RU251 of NICE as well always seems to find a way to get involved in fights there. So when your Tier 8 can get involved as well as the Tier 10s, then it's always going to be a great situation for you.
Yeah, and you're always going to struggle if your Team Efficiency in there, you know, trying to deal with NICE on one end, the rest of EL and all of those autoloaders on the other, and just their focus fire couldn't compete in that one, and that's what we're used to seeing from EL Gaming.
Well, that's going to be series number 1 done and dusted. EL Gaming picking up the victory, but we're going to head over to our analyst desk once again to break down our first match.
Thanks, Jordan. Yes, I may have predicted 7-5, but I was just trying to keep that Team Efficiency dream alive. Fortunately for those guys, that dream is dead, but they still walk away with $12,500 US, which is a considerable sum of money, and for most games, that's probably your first prize. So they're coming out as fourth today, third, fourth, walk home with quite a bit of cash. But I think the story, of course, here is EL Gaming 7-2. They lost. I just want to say, going through a Muravanka, that particular double RD lineup. Talk to me about this, Madhouse. Talk to me about this.
I don't know if they did that and thought it was an actual strat, or if they're just doing it for fun, to be honest. And TE won that, obviously, but I reckon they could have done it even better, because what Skell did was, like, they did what Elon does. They take the whole map, and then Skell had the top half of the map, so they were trapped in that corner. But then he moved to the actual fight, and then that just let them free roam of that whole top of the map again, which is what happened. They took the top of the map again, but Skell moved back and just caught them in time crossing. So he caught them crossing, and then they pushed in and killed the heavies. So I think it was almost very lucky for Skell to actually see those bats crossing.
It was lucky.
Muravanka's a terrible map for spotting, and he was very lucky to see those bats. And if he didn't see those bats, they could have came around, killed off tanks behind, and it could have gone really bad.
Well, we've got some replays to look at, so let's go and chuck those up on the screen. You guys can talk us through these as they progress through, and see the different strats that they used or failed to use, I suppose. What are we going to see here?
This is basically this is the first map, right? Well, Irigimi is attacking, and I think EL over here are kind of set up to ward off against the rush, and then they move down south. That was like later on in the game. This is a bit later on in the game, but over here is, I think, like one of the biggest mistakes is that Quiet lived for way too long. So we're gonna see in a minute here, Dexta and Safi are gonna go kill Quiet, and actually Dexta has a full clip over here. This, I think, is like something that should not have happened, and it's probably what lost him the game. Dexta goes over, and he's gonna miss 2 shots out of his 5 shots, which is gonna leave Quiet still alive, and Quiet is gonna be able to finish off Dexta later on. So we see he pops over here, and this is like first shot, miss or bounce. Goes around, okay, he gets a few more in, and all the while Quiet is still shooting him, and that's the thing. Dexta is losing HP here for nothing, where Quiet should have already been dead by now.
So what you're going to say, in this sort of matchup, Dexter should have won this quicker, much quicker.
Dexta should have clipped him out.
Okay.
That was it, and by himself. Safi's coming in, now Safi's losing HP as well, trying to finish him off. If Dexta had finished him off there, Safi wouldn't have lost HP. Dexta would still be alive, and I think that this could have gone different. This could have gone to T's favor over here.
Well, that would have made it 2-0 as well, and it would have given them an opportunity on Cliff that we'll see in a little bit, where they got absolutely slaughtered in only one round.
Yes.
Would have given them a chance to try it on the other side.
Yes. Well, over here, what they should have done really is they should have put Safi on cap, and maybe Maw should have stayed there, and Bohan should have guarded the back door, and basically they should have forced EL Gaming to come. They went out with heavies, and that's never going to work. Like, EL just spreads out, shoots everything. This was really good. I love this, what EL did. They waited for Bohan to turn his turret sideways, because they had shots on Bohan, but they were waiting to shoot his turret, and they made him turn his turret sideways to hit the side of it from the other angle, which is really good teamwork. And yeah, this is basically like the conclusion. At this point, it's like, okay, you know.
It was almost over once that SC lived, because he did like 2,000 damage just bat chats because of those bounces.
Yeah.
And it was so unneeded. It could be another, like, there was only 2,300 HP left. That could have been the game.
Yeah, and like, EL had lots of players off, and this game is kind of a lull game.
I don't know what the point of the strategy was for 2RD. Like, I guess it could have worked. In the post-game stats, the M40 must have got really unlucky. He had 6 or 8 shots fired, something like that. Only 800 damage.
Yeah.
That's one splash.
I'm starting to wonder if Bohan was like had a spall liner or something, because he did not take a lot of damage from those Artie rounds. Like, look at it, 155 damage from Artie. It's never good. And yeah, at this point you look at Black and I think it was Black and Sunmi. They're completely out of position. They wanted to flank around, and they realized T had completely pushed into them. And then they were like, "Oh, let's go back now."
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, waste more time. Oh, you're too late. Fight's over. Even if you're full HP, you're not going to do anything. You can't save it.
So essentially, in this particular fight, because obviously the artillery is out of it, once you do get into that sort of battle where all the tanks are fighting together, obviously you're 2 tanks down straight away. It makes life a lot more difficult.
Yeah, but like when I saw T get super close to their hill, I was a bit worried, because it looked like T was like, oh, we're going to take the fight to them, but T didn't really need to do that. They had map control early on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they completely surrounded them. They had really good map control.
And here we are onto Cliff. Now, I just want to say, Madhouse, apart from the fact that you predicted 7-2 to be correct, you also said, like, within before this point, like 10 seconds into the game, you're like, team efficiency have lost. Why was that?
They've just split. They've split. Elon came up in front of them. Nice was behind them. Nice lit them, and then they were just surrounded already. That's pretty much the game over. Safi and Gamer were way out of the fight, so they cleaned up 4 tanks. Safi and Gamer still full HP.
Also,
full clip.
Safi and Gamer didn't light them coming through. That's the thing. They should have been lit coming through, and then they should have reacted straight away. But they were up there for way too long at the beginning, and at the end, it's just like, you have 2 tanks that are full HP, but then EL just runs away till all their clips are reloaded, and it's over.
The only way to really win that is to commit all your tanks to the one line.
What was the strat that Team Efficiency used in this match? Was it okay? Could have it worked, or was it always a bad idea?
To be honest, I think it would have worked if those 2 bat chats had spotted the push and had reacted right away. Maybe gone in behind EL Gaming instead.
Okay.
But instead, they just reacted too slow. They only started moving once the fight had already started, and then it's like you have 10 seconds.
Yeah,
before the fight's
with
over.
obviously all those autoloads just firing through very quickly.
It was over.
Was what we saw there from EL Gaming, was that something that you would not see normally? Like, should Team Efficiency have predicted that, or was it a little bit out of the ordinary?
It was pretty predictable. Like I said before it even started, they're going to be picking 3 Molten 3s, 350Bs. I think they did that for the first 4 games. Just the same tanks over and over, and they just rush in an area on attack, and on defense they'll just either rush or they'll just spot out, spread out, and know where you are, and from there work you down.
Okay, so overall, the guys from EL Gaming, they played what we expected to see from them. Really, their strats weren't particularly out of the ordinary for them. It was them essentially at their best. The quintessential EL Gaming. They came through, unfortunately.
Just another day at work.
Just another day earning the big esport dollars, and well, they made it through to this afternoon's grand final. $50,000 is the first prize, boys. That's $50,000 US, which is a considerable sum of money, even split 7 ways. That's still pretty good.
It's pretty good payday, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not Aussie dollars, right? So.
I think you'd be paying in scraps then. If it was $8.
Well, at the moment, guys, that is it for our matchup here between EL Gaming and Team Efficiency. EL Gaming will be moving forward to this afternoon's grand final. Who will they take on? Is it going to be Meltdown? Is it going to be B Gaming? That match is what is coming up next. But for now, we're going to head back over to the stage for an interview.
Thank you very much, Ben. I am here on the stage live from Sydney, where we just saw a very impressive performance by EL Gaming. I have the pleasure of being joined on stage by the captain, Fox TS. Welcome to Australia, and congratulations on your win. First of all, I have to ask, heading into this series, is this the result that you and your team expected?
他说非常高兴今天你来到这个悉尼来参加这个比赛，然后呢获得了这个比赛的胜利。那么从你们一开始到这里来的时候呢，你们是不是觉得这样的一个结果就是你们预期的结果，也是一个比较满意的结果？
这个结果其实我们没多想，但是我们觉得尽自己最大努力去做就 OK 了。
Before we actually participated in this game, we didn't actually really think about the result. All we thought was trying our very best, and then the result would come.
All right, well, that's a great attitude coming into the competition, of course, and obviously it panned out very well. 7-2 was the result. A question for myself and a lot of the people playing at home is the map where you used 2 artillery, which probably didn't go exactly your way. So my question would be, what was the reasoning in going 2 artillery on that map?
他说你们这样的一个这个态度呢是非常正确的。然后呢，最终的比赛结果呢也是7-2这样的一个比分，非常理想的一个比分。那么在这个比赛当中，你们有用到2种武器。那么这2种武器就是你们是怎样运用的那个2种武器
？2种武器。
Two different artillery. Can you specify that?
During the match that we saw, there was the use of 2 artillery that ended up probably not going your way. I think it was in the 4th map that might have been used. A couple of the spectators picked up on that and thought that it might have been an interesting choice.
他说在比赛当中有可能有两次比赛呀，有2个地图可能没有做得非常的好，所以说下面的观战的观众呢也对这个比较感兴趣，为什么你们会在那2次当中有所失误？
因为来到这边的话，多多少少有一些时差的问题，还有对面 T1 Efficiency 也打得非常的精彩。可能是我们的之前准备工作做得比较充足，然后所以才造成了这个比分。
Because when we came over here, we have to adjust the time differences, and we also didn't prepare very well for that map. Particularly, our team efficiency did very well on that 2 maps, so that's why we lost.
Okay, well, 7-2 is obviously still a great performance and a great result that you should be proud of. Going into the grand final now, a little later this afternoon, is there anything in your strategy that you're going to be changing heading into the final match?
他说7-2的这个比分呢，应该来说的话是一个比较令人满意的结果。那么今天那你也有资格参加最后的这个决赛。那么在这个决赛参加当中，你的这个策略有什么改变呢？还是继续保持你惯用的策略？
一贯就是我们做好自己的本职工作，然后让客观结果到最后一刻再出来。
We will just basically just keep on what we are doing, and then we hope the result will come.
Well, what you're doing is winning, and I'm sure that's what you're going to continue to do, but I'm sure there's a couple of other teams coming up that may have something to say about that. Nonetheless, congratulations on your first win. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience and at home, that is our first semi-final done and dusted. One more semi to come before our grand final of the WGL Season 1 finals for the Asia Pacific region. We're going to go to a break. Don't you go anywhere.